some stories, and Ellie Jarvie, we talked about Michelle just now, and we haven't transitioned yet. I don't know if I can read hers without crying, but she really has a great thing about how Ornery Mule Racing checks all the boxes for her. And so I thought, because I only got 5 stories when I asked for community stories, but hers is about how Michelle remembered her and all of that stuff. So
I think, we should share.
I think we're good, but we don't have anybody back on yet because it will have kicked them off and they'll have to refresh their...
How many?
Yeah, my wife said it went back to the girls this morning.
How many did we have on?
Between 25 and 30.
25 and 30.
Yeah,
Okay.
and then like the internet's like,
Yeah.
I hope they figure that out.
We want to mention OrneryMuleRacing.com.
Did you see this?
I haven't looked at it close yet.
It's really pretty. When I first started watching the podcast, I was like, is she saying patron? And that's just her accent?
Oh, yeah. I've never heard of it before this.
I Googled it. It's a Patreon website, and you can become a patron on the Patreon website.
Oh, so we can mention who started the race? Chris and Kevin, Jason, Dorgan, and Tim Janacek took over.
So, fun fact, I don't know if you know this, but at the Ornery Mule Trailhead, there's a rock on a picture of Michelle with Chris and Kevin at Setness. Chris found a heart-shaped rock on the Kettle Trail the first year that Michelle was the race director, and she said that it was an omen that the race was supposed to be Michelle's, and so she gave it to her. Michelle has it hanging at the trailhead.
She did tell me about that. Yes, because that was a big decision. They had to decide who was going to get the race. Yeah, I remember Michelle talking about that, and she's definitely done right by it. You know, really has continued that.
Is there anybody out there that we can text to get updates more frequently, I guess?
I'm not watching, no. I'm on it when you guys are in bed. I'm just here early.
Oh, okay. Awesome.
Yeah, I sat on the stairs. That's the best place out of the way.
Oh, no worries. I just don't want to screw up the footage.
I knocked it over a couple times. We're not right now. We lost internet connection.
Okay. That's cool. Boys?
Good to see you.
See you. There's gonna be what?
Well, I mean,
We
one
can
of us
swap
could take a
out.
break,
Yeah.
swap out while you do
What,
it.
what time are you
I'm
set
1
to
to
come
3.
in?
I'm just short. Because I'm only here for a little bit before I go to Duffin.
Oh, okay.
So I'm only on for a bit. She just asked. I'm like, I'm already working. She's like, oh crap, I forgot.
Yeah, I'm working at the Highway 12 too, so
Okay.
I'll be leaving.
I was gonna bring mine in because
Yeah, I got mine in here. We're gonna have a gear off.
Oh, you do have a big battery pack too, yeah.
Yes.
I figured you did.
I mean, would I go with anything less than the big one?
Well, it's just they're heavier, right?
They totally are.
Yeah, you've got the base, you've got the single,
Yeah.
and then we don't have I don't have the double, but yeah.
And you know, this magnet though is so awesome. I use the Velcro. Jeff uses carabiners with this little piece here, and I want to do that, but I haven't ordered any carabiners yet. But this magnet, it's so strong that I can put it on the inside of my daughter's chariot and just snap that right to the front of it.
Yeah.
And
It's a good one.
it doesn't go anywhere.
I bounce so much and I'm so sweaty, I can't get it to hold.
Oh, I can't put that under my shirt. No way.
Yeah, I've tried it. I end up with the Velcro straps that they got on the stretchies, and I hook that to the vest and roll with that. So.
Yeah, like Jeff uses this, and he uses those carabiners from spot to spot, and I haven't ordered any carabiners, but when they showed that on, I was like, genius, dude, genius.
Yeah, like here's the long Velcro that Margaret's got there.
Yeah, that's I took that long Velcro and I cut it short, and then I just wrap it around my strap because I have quite a bit of space between my water bottles. So
width-wise, I've done them that way. I've done them this way. Depends on your chest width. The ladies, they can't usually go this way. They end up going this way. But I've done it that way.
I've saw people have 2 of them, but that's pricey.
Oh, yeah. But the packs can run it, but I don't need it. I mean, with how much light that will throw, I've never found I needed.
I had someone go, "You think your light's bright enough?" They couldn't even talk on the trail because I was coming towards them.
Most of that's because just you're so used to looking in the dark, right? And people are, it's 800 lumens, dude. It's not that bad. It's not one.
I'm gonna help people cross the road tonight with this. I love the magnet. Do you have a Kogala?
I don't.
Love it. It's awesome. He has the huge battery pack, which will last like, what is it, 12 to 13 hours? Mine's.
Yeah.
That's the
We're
heavy
gonna
one.
have the gear off. Yeah, this is the standard one.
I got that one because I do the winter races and then the cold. Like everything.
Oh
sucks.
yeah, I guess you lose more battery power that
So
quickly.
yeah, I needed something as big as I could get it. Yeah. And I'm not that fast.
So
So.
seriously, we are live. I just don't have control of it right now.
Oh, okay.
Sorry,
Let's
you're
just
looking at
keep
my
going.
backside. Sorry.
See,
Let's
look
do
at that.
Let's just keep going.
Oh wow.
Let's do it.
That's the highest one. It goes, it has a lower. Oh no, that's the lower, and then a blink.
Ah, you're blinding me.
Ah! My daughter, she loves lights, so
I love lights too.
when I turn this on,
Especially
I
when
can't
it's
get it to
dark
turn
out.
off. I gotta just unplug it. When I go put it on, she's like
Yeah.
pointing at it. Turn it on, Dad.
Aw.
I'm at the scroll.
Oh, the scroll.
Yeah, that's
Talking
it.
about I can't see anything.
I can't see anything either. I looked at my Kogala.
Do we have listeners out there? Viewers, I should say.
I'm showing 6.
6.
6.
All right. All we need is 1.
You like squirrels nut
I
butter?
love it. So let's go ahead and talk about the founding of the race, right? Remembering this is the 25th anniversary. So Michelle didn't always have this race. So before Michelle, the Chris and Kevin Setness, they founded the race. They were the RDs for a few years when Jason Dorgan and Tim Janacek then took over. Okay, they were the RDs then for 18 years. So they really kind of set the foundation for what we have today. Then in 2018, they decided to retire, and they chose Michelle to continue the Kettle Moraine 100 tradition. And now we are at an epic 25 years.
Yeah.
How exciting! That is just phenomenal.
Yeah.
25 years.
Well, I want to.
This has got to be one of the oldest. One of the oldest ultras out there.
That's pretty incredible.
I know.
I want to share what I
Yeah.
told while we're on air about because it was one of the things that it was one of those times that Michelle when she liked to listen to me when I went and met her at the trailheads for the first time.
Yes.
So it was one of the stories that she was most proud. Like she showed me her awards and stuff like that, but she just was like pointed and and so when she was taking over, she came out and she actually met Chris and Kevin, and Chris found a heart-shaped rock on the trail,
Okay.
and they took a photo together, and she gave Michelle the rock and like a symbol of her of how it was meant to be that Ornery Mule Racing would be taking over the Kettle Moraine race. So if you want to see that rock and the picture, it's actually at the Ornery Mule Trailhead. So go buy some gear.
That is a perfect reason to get to the trailhead.
Yeah, go see something awesome,
Yes.
from the trail, a heart-shaped rock, and then
Right.
get yourself some gear.
And that's a good point. If you have not been to the store, it's really set up very, very nicely. I mean, there's a ton of gear there.
Find yourself some new headbands, Ornery Mule headbands.
Yes. Love those headbands. I wish I was that creative to be able to design, something like this. Juan, how do you feel about that? Like,
I love it.
right? Aren't they incredible? The designs?
It's crazy how much different gear Ornery Mule has, to be honest.
Right?
There's a lot of different designs.
Yeah,
There's so
like
much
I had
stuff.
a shirt change while
Yeah.
we were down for a while too, because it's Pride Month. So Ornery Mule, they're very inclusive community, so they have the Ornery Mule Pride shirt for
Yes.
Pride Month, which I am loving. It's super comfortable. She might already be sold out.
I
People
like
liked it
too,
so
'cause,
much.
like, it's the
Yeah, it's the kind so you're don't get chafed from your
Yes,
vest.
Yes.
Yeah, I like the cutoff better than the tank tops. What about
Yeah.
you? You like the cutoff or the tank tops?
I don't. I think I might only have one cutoff.
Mhm.
So I think I might have to switch to maybe more cutoffs. I think I'd just deal with the chafing.
So do you have all of the, what are they called? Just the, do you have the t-shirts with the sleeves?
I do have t-shirts, but
Singlets.
The singlets, yes.
I'm
thank you.
probably a singlet guy come summer. I'm a
Okay.
singlet guy, yeah. I am a heavy sweater.
Yeah, me too.
A heavy
Yeah.
sweater.
Yes.
So I need something light. So yeah, I normally go singlet.
I got
Yeah.
up this morning and went for a run here at the camp where we have the
Okay.
broadcast from.
Right.
And it was early in the morning, so I sympathized with everybody running today because it was like swimming. Oh, I was running. He said, "Oh, I thought you were swimming."
Yeah. I mean, in this weather like this, so let's talk about this kind of heat.
Yeah.
Right? This kind of weather, the runners that are out there right now. How many miles? So they started at 7 o'clock this morning.
7. I'm not.
Something like that. They started a while back, and it is now 12. So they've been running for
6 hours.
6 hours.
Yeah, 6 hours.
W-
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Great. Thank you. And then we'll go into the whole
We'll talk about the course.
the
stuff, yeah.
heat and yeah, perfect. Thank you.
So we can like talk about it.
Oh, thanks for selling Ornery Mule. Thank you.
Runners have come through so far.
the trail.
Good job, guys. And our leaders were going out pretty quick. The first ones came through about 6:57, and then it spread out pretty far. But it's great to see everybody.
like I'm gonna have to like make that my next 50K after the Hennepin this year, because it looks like a wonderful course.
And the atmosphere's great.
Yeah.
Yep. And also, if you, everybody may have noticed, we have
Self now.
Yeah,
Hey everybody, my name's Val.
but still maybe get to get some of that
Feel.
ultra marathon vibe and feel, and the aid station
Aid
and
station
just
food.
people hanging out and stuff like
I'll
that.
never forget my first visit to an aid station. I was like, whoa!
Yeah.
And that you really have to control yourself when you get to these aid stations, because you really want to take one of everything, but later down the line, if you do that, you're probably setting yourself up for something not so great.
Yes.
I don't know.
I agree.
We have Dean Carnassus coming on here in a little bit, and he ordered you heard the story of him ordering the large pizza, asked him not to cut it, and just rolled it up and carry it like. So I mean, sometimes you can eat the bad stuff. I can't.
I can't either.
I can't
Yeah,
do it.
no.
As much as I love to eat, I do struggle to eat during a race. So,
Yeah.
how about you?
Especially, that's definitely going to be something that the runners today are going to be facing, right?
Yeah.
The
And
heat,
probably about this time.
yeah,
too.
exactly. The heat, the humidity. You start getting that dehydration, and the first thing that I find that goes is your appetite, right? All of a
Yes.
sudden, especially if you start getting a little bit of stomach quease, then you just start not wanting to eat.
What have you done in the past? Have you experienced that before, and what kind of things
I've
have you
experienced
tried?
at this race, to be honest,
Okay.
and man, it felt like I swallowed a brick, to be honest. It's so humid, and you're sweating so much.
Was
and,
it salt that was your problem, or did you work it out?
To be honest, I think I just got lucky that I was only running 50K.
Only.
I mean, I did keep drinking, and I kept forcing myself to eat, but I think I'd got to the point where I'm not sure I was actually metabolizing anything. I think it was just sitting in my
there.
stomach, and
Yeah.
luckily the race ended at 50K.
Yeah.
I made it to the end, but I do think that people are probably going to have to slow down a little bit in the heat of the day, pay attention a little bit more to their nutrition, maybe spend a couple extra minutes in the aid station and just make sure they're really keeping up with their fueling, so they can make it to the end of the race. But I do think that is going to be a challenge today.
I think Tara had mentioned earlier too about the walking and running ratio with ultras, and that is something that would probably come into play at this point too. It's around lunchtime, and it'd be a good time to maybe slow down, take something from that aid station, and continue on with a forward walk for a while, and eat something, kind of get yourself reset, and then be ready to go in another couple miles and hit the trail again running.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that brings up a good point of, if you do decide to take maybe a little bit more nutrition, then don't be afraid to walk until it kind of settles in your stomach a little bit. Again, especially in the heat. So I'm not sure maybe if there's people from around the country that are watching this, they probably don't realize how hot Wisconsin gets.
True.
And I mean, today I think we're looking at highs at least in the upper 80s, maybe close to 90 degrees.
Yeah.
Very high humidity. It's muggy out there. We had a storm come through last night that rained, so there could be some moisture on the ground, and especially once the sun gets up and that humidity just comes out of the ground.
And just kind of sticks there, doesn't it?
Yeah,
It doesn't
sticks
move.
there. It sticks there.
When we got on the air, it was 82 degrees, and we've been on the air a little over an hour, and it's 88 now.
Yeah, 88.
Temps
now.
are rising.
So they are
Yeah.
it's gonna get very warm out there, and different from the desert where your sweat evaporates super quickly.
Okay.
Here it just sits on you.
Yeah.
So almost, I tell people I would rather towel off when I get to my crew than have them dump water on me.
Yeah.
Because you're just
Good point.
you're so saturated with sweat. Really, it just sits on you. So
Do you have you changed clothes in the past to kind of bring on some fresh clothes? Or
I
do you
do
just
think
prefer
that
to
would.
keep the same thing on.
I do think that would help here. Changing clothes, right? Just getting a fresh shirt on or something like that, especially later.
Do you think that's in the drop bags?
I hope for some people it is. I hope for some people it is.
Some
Yeah.
baby wipes to wipe off that salt.
Yeah, exactly.
I get kind of, once I'm sweating in this humid weather, I get kind of like a salty buildup.
Yep,
So,
absolutely.
There was a great post on Facebook that kind of was asking about what to put in the drop bags, and it went from are you overpacker or underpacker, and it was really cool to see the different aspects of what to put
I'm
in your
an
drop bag.
overpacker.
I am along with you, Ryan. I think, you know, I might need it. The problem is I haven't figured out how to put it in the right drop bag. So.
I've always been lucky enough to have my wife, my family come crew me. So I'm gonna be honest. I don't think I've ever put anything in a drop bag ever.
Oh, you are lucky.
So I just no
Yeah.
drop bags. Crew, that's it. If I miss my crew, then I'll just keep running.
You'll catch them at the next
Yeah,
station,
catch them
right?
at the next one. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, that's definitely today. Drop bags gonna be key.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hope they have salt tabs in their drop bags too.
I wish you guys can see Ryan's drop bag here. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's definitely.
Tell us a little bit about that. You have a lot of fun things in there, and it looks like it has wheels and a handle and a lot of compartments. I'm a little envious here. I think I'm gonna have to take a picture and find me one of these.
You know how many people have taken pictures of this at races? I love it. And it's not organized, but because it has all these compartments, it feels organized.
I was gonna say,
By
it
the
looks
end of a
organized
race,
to
I'm
me.
shoving stuff down in there. Just, but I can fit I can fit my cooler in here, the food I need, change of shoes.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Extra vest, because I just do liquid nutrition
Okay.
as much as I can
Yeah.
in a bladder, and then I'll get water as I'm going.
Mhm.
So I have 2 vests in here full of my stuff already made. Yeah, no, I definitely overpack. I ended up at Galena Sky. I just kept taking the gnarly.
Okay.
I decided, well, what better time to try out the gnarly and see if I
On
like
race
it.
day.
Yeah, you know. And so I came home and my wife goes, "No wonder you're sore. You didn't hydrate." And she's holding up my
yeah.
full jug. I'm like, no.
I did.
I did.
Yeah. Speaking of gnarly, they're one of the the sponsor for this race, and they have the nutrition out on the course. I've been running with gnarly since they had that nice YouTube, I don't think it was on YouTube, it was a presentation.
Yeah.
For Ornery Mule racers, and I think they did a fantastic job of describing what their product is, and they have awesome tutorials on their website.
Yeah, lots of advice in that thing. Yeah,
and
definitely
if
check
you
that
use
out.
Ornery Mule 15, you can get a 15% off discount on trying their products. They do have a great sample pack that I'd recommend purchasing if you haven't tried it before. That way you can kind of get a feel for what each, there's the protein and then the hydrate that's in there as well, and you can kind of go from there to see what flavors you like.
And if you
like
try it, tag a picture of yourself like this saying gnarly nutrition.
You
or
got it
gnarly
down.
meals.
You got it down.
So we got Gemstone Cowgirl 1-1, or it could be 11. She's also overpacker.
Excellent. Welcome to the club.
Yeah, then a couple shout outs from Get a Grip Training Center, Coal Valley, Illinois. We're listening to cheer on all our participants, but especially Jim DeBlay. Hopefully I said that right. He's taking on the 50K. So go,
Excellent.
Jim.
Go, Jim. That's kind of in my backyard. I'm from the Quad Cities as well.
That's awesome. Then we got Brianna tuning in from St. Louis to cheer on Brett. You guys can like the video, drop comments in there. We'll try and give you guys shout outs as we can.
Ask questions.
Ask questions. Yeah, whatever advice you guys want to hear about. We'll try and get updates, obviously, for the race as the best that we can and split them out. But
do we know where the leader's at this point?
I'm going to try to pull it up
I
while you
think,
guys talk.
yeah, we've been trying to work on
Okay.
that, trying to figure that out. We're a little bit behind, so
Yeah,
we can see who's gone through like probably about 20 miles or so. Then we're going to work on trying to figure out the leaders and stuff like that.
Excellent.
So, yeah.
Do a few interviews.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
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 Hi, my name is Jamie Maher, and I am stationed here. It will be hitting us at mile 19 and mile 44. So our first person just came through at 19, and at 19, you should still be feeling pretty good. It is 8:50 in the morning right now, and so the sun is starting to kind of come up, and so people are going to start feeling the heat a little bit. But for the most part, people should be feeling pretty good as they come through 19. Now, when people start coming back through at mile 44 and we get to see them again, it might be a different story. So you're almost halfway through the race, and even though hopefully you're still feeling pretty good, that heat coming down can kind of take a toll on your body. But at mile 44 versus 19, you're definitely going to be feeling the heat, you're going to be feeling a little bit more tired, and you're going to need to make sure you're taking in some electrolytes.
Hello, I'm Cheryl Meltzer. Carl is my husband. We are running, or he is running the Kettle Moraine 100 today. We're at, I think, mile 12 plus. He's doing great. He says he's a little tired on the hills, but he feels fine. Our chances of winning are probably not the top of the list today. His goal is to get it done and have a good day. As some people already know, he recently was injured, so we're just out here to have a good time and enjoy the event.
Hi, my name is Maria Diestemeyer. I am here crewing for our son, Matt Diestemeyer. He just came in having a little hamstring issue, but he's hoping to be able to push through. Super encouraged. Been a long road. We haven't been able to run for a while, so lots of training and no coursework. So we'll see how this goes.
I'm comfortable about that, but Carl Metzer's wife was on there.
Yeah.
And if you're watching this, you should check out the Ornery Mule Racing Instagram page, because Ginny Thorson, one of the race photographers, came back here earlier this morning and was uploading some pictures, and I got a sneak peek at it, and it is a gorgeous picture. So yeah, check out some pictures from the race.
Where did you say that's at?
On Instagram, the
Okay.
Ornery Mule Racing. Here, look. Isn't that gorgeous?
Oh, you definitely need to go check out his Instagram. That's a beautiful picture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great. So probably a little different environment than Utah, right? Or I believe that's where Carl lives at, Utah. It's a little bit different, right?
I think you're right on there, Juan. It looks, not quite sure if they have that much of the greenery in
Yeah.
Utah, and maybe not as much grass. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, that is that's pretty interesting. You know, I spent some time in Arizona running, and it's pretty much hard packed dirt trails. You know, and it's people were like, "Well, what are the trails like where you live at?" I was like, it's grass." And they're like, "Really?" Like, yeah, it's just pretty much grass. The trails are grass. You know, maybe some dirt where obviously the super rundown places are dirt, but it's like soft dirt,
And
it's
tree
not.
canopy.
Yeah, tree canopies, pine needles, just lush, beautiful trails to train on, and
That's an interesting thought. I wonder how, or what would be your experience, since you have run some races out in the desert area, but obviously you live in the Midwest area. How did you train or prepare yourself for the difference in the climate?
I think that the biggest thing you could do is just get in the best shape you can get in.
Okay. Yeah.
Right? And
yeah.
I mean, obviously, if you're going to be running in the heat, then try and do, some runs in the heat. Try and get your stomach ready for, like we talked about, taking on nutrition in the heat, that types of things. But at the end of the day, you can't let your training environment keep you from running races that you think will be fun to run in,
Yeah.
And you can't let your training environment create a mental roadblock for you to still be able to be successful in races in other environments, And just trust your training and try and get in the best shape that you can, and know that maybe you're going to have to slow down a little bit in different environments. Maybe, the race might not run as fast as you would like, but, just enjoy the experience, but absolutely just try and get in the best shape that you can.
Yeah, I like that point, because I think a lot of us in the Midwest are kind of challenged by the environment that we live in. And I think there are tricks to our training to we can't really simulate the trail we'll be running on, but we definitely can prepare our body for that as well.
Yeah.
And I think later on today we'll be talking with Jeff Browning. I think he's a big advocate for strength training and mobility, which I think is very important for the runner.
Yeah, absolutely. Strength training, when I ran Leadville, strength training was a huge part. I probably did strength training 2 or 3 times a week. I feel like that definitely helped out. Or just try and, even like our backyard, try and find some hillier courses if you're going to head to different areas. Or you might have to end up just running up the same hill a bunch of times, So
Parking ramps work as well. If you're
I
in
know
the city.
a lot of people who do multiple hill repeats. You get a 300-foot hill or a 200-foot hill, and
You
that's
kind of hit the gold mine if you find that.
Yeah, you just go. I think I got a 130 where I live. So
I have a hill that takes me only 12 seconds to run up it, but it's real steep, so I just run up and down it.
Yeah, yeah. I think that the biggest thing too, is just just get out there and have fun. You know, I think sometimes we like to, you know, you should challenge yourself, but I think sometimes we put these goals or milestones, and sometimes if you're falling short of a goal, then it could keep you from actually just enjoying the experience, you know. So
Yeah, I think most of the races that I've showed up, as far as the trail and ultra community races, I think everyone I've showed up to, I've thought to myself, I think you're a little out of your league. But, you know, you just toe the line with everybody else and do the best you can and move forward.
yeah, absolutely.
I wouldn't be here if I tried to stay in my league of things.
That's right. That's so true,
So many
right?
people laughed at me when I was like, I mean, I was very large, and I said, I'm going to become an ultra runner because I saw some article about it, and people thought it was hilarious. So
And now look at you.
challenge yourself.
Blazing trails, Ryan.
Do stuff that makes you uncomfortable.
Exactly, yep.
That's what at Galena's, I asked someone how they were doing, and she said, I made it to suffer. I'm fantastic.
I made it to suffer. That's a good quote.
Yeah, so it looks like we got an update from Loretta. She's one of our Honorary Mule member
excellent. Thanks, Loretta.
She's my
coaches
coach.
and people. Yeah, she's awesome. She says it just updated. Looks like Rachel Ragona is in first overall. So
Oh, Rachel.
go Rachel.
Yeah.
And again, thanks for the update. And then shout out from Christina to Chris. So go Chris from Chicago. In deer flies. Someone's asking about the deer
Oh,
flies. I
yes,
have
that
not
was-
been out on the trail yet today, but the deer flies are an issue out there.
Have you ever used a deer fly
Strip?
patch? I
Tape?
never
I'm not
even
sure,
heard of
yeah.
that
I've
until the
never-
other day. Someone posted that. It like maybe attracts them, and they had it across the back of their hat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was covered in deer flies. I hate them.
Yeah,
I hate
they
them.
are a nuisance. And if you guys don't know what we're talking about, they're basically these flies that will follow you and essentially dive bomb your head,
And
right?
bite
Like
you.
the
And
Bite
that-
Blackbird Red Wings in the Quad Cities.
Yeah, I have those where I live too. Those things are a nuisance as well. But they're essentially miniature those, and they'll follow you for miles. The deer flies, and it's just I don't know what they're doing.
So where's the best place to put the tape? Do you want it behind you, in front of you, all
On
over
top of
you?
your head.
Yeah, we're getting signs on top of your head. Yeah, I've never
On top
used
of our
it,
head?
but
They migrate towards the highest point on a body.
Oh, so you can run with a taller runner too, and that might work.
Yes.
There you
Okay,
go.
That's why
perfect.
they're always up top and they get covered, but yeah, they tend to go to the highest point on the body. So
They like to get right here on me. I'm constantly another deer fly.
yeah.
coming up. Yeah.
So the insect repellent doesn't work for the flies. You need the tape.
I don't know. I thought it said it covered them, but people are swearing by it in my
Okay.
running groups. So I was like,
It looked
I
like it was
never
kind of
even
hard to come
thought
by.
about
Can you use like masking tape or duct
duct tape. Yeah, put some
Any
duct
kind
tape,
of tape?
upside down. Yeah.
It'd be worth a shot.
Yeah.
It'd be worth a shot. If I don't wear a hat when I'm running often, when I run here, a lot of times I do wear a hat. At least it's like a little layer from them getting right in my hair, which creeps me out for whatever reason.
I don't
So.
think I'd enjoy that. I don't really care for the bugs either.
Yeah. Let's see.
Any more comments?
No, that was it. No more comments. Again, guys, if you guys want to shoot us your comments, be sure to do that. Also, text your friends. Let all your friends know that we're doing this. Have them log in, check us out for a little bit, ask questions, cheer people on, give us a like, help us spread the word about this. We
Yeah.
really appreciate it. So,
Yeah, this is an awesome thing that Michelle's putting on for the trail running community. I think it's going to bring awareness to the sport, and I'm hoping it inspires some of the runners or non-runners out there into thinking that, hey, this is possible and it's something that I can do as well. I know you guys were talking earlier on how you got into trail running and running in general. So, kind of on the repeat. Sorry.
No, I think it's good to repeat since it's going on. I was in my head. I was thinking we should probably talk about this again because
Oh, yes.
Tara and Aaron did this morning. So they were saying that they think that this is the best award of the day, and I'm gonna have to agree.
I
because
agree too.
This is what I'm looking for anyway. The last ass on the trail.
Yeah.
my first 100 and stuff, I'm probably going to be a DNF, but I'm looking for those too. I'm going to collect DNFs until I finish. But the last ass on the trail, how cool is that?
I'd love to hear the story of the person that receives that award.
Yeah, no, I can't wait to see.
Because you got to know it's somebody that has really just put in some incredible time and has overcome so many different challenges to get to that point today to attempt their first. Well, maybe it's their first 100 or not. I'm not quite sure if that would be the case.
Maybe it's a 50K.
Correct. I should not have assumed it would be 100, should I?
I mean, I don't know. It took me 12 hours to do a 50K when I did it, so I wouldn't be last. So, but I mean, you could come out here and take that whole 30 hours to do 50K.
Yeah, might need a nap or two, or maybe you overate at the aid stations and you need to kind of settle down a little bit. But I think that's an awesome award, and I look forward to seeing the person who receives that and hearing their story. Maybe Michelle can get them on their podcast.
Yeah, yeah.
Just I guess emphasize how supportive everybody is. If you've ever been to an ultra race and you've got to see the last finisher cross, the last person to make the cutoff, the cheering there is, I would say, equal to, if not more, than the person that won the race.
Totally agree.
I mean, it's so, everybody's just so supportive. It's so motivating. And it's an awesome thing to see, and like you guys were kind of, talking about, it's someone that's been out there just grinding away for, Kettle, the cutoff for Kettle, it's 30 hours, so over a day, they're going to be out there, just grinding away, and for them to really have the internal fortitude to make sure that they make it to the finish, it's going to be an awesome thing to see, so.
Well, and when you're counting down to 30 hours, in your head when you're out there and you're running, and because I came in under the cutoff on my final loop at Galena, and that's when you want to give up, like when and so the ability to keep going and to still make that cutoff, that it's well deserved that it's the best.
Yeah, that is so cool. So. Yep.
In the last 20 miles of this race are not the easiest miles of the race, so you'll come into the same spot that they started, right? Okay. Then you'll head back through the Nordic, and then you'll head south. You'll get to the southernmost portion, and then you're going to head back north, and there's definitely some rollers out there. There's definitely some hills out there, so and you're still going to have roughly 20 miles to come back to, so it's going to be tough today for the last person. That trophy is going to be a well-earned trophy for whoever gets it. So,
well, and they have to run through the finish line.
Yeah,
like you could just stop.
Yeah.
So I wanted to take a moment to talk about Ornery Mule Racing's mission and things that are extremely important to us. So our mission is kindness, community, and ordinary people doing extraordinary things. And we like to say very often, because we want to make sure everybody completely understands this, that all people are welcome at trail running events. The ultra running community is extremely welcoming, and we just want to emphasize that. This month is Pride Month, and at Kettle Moraine 100, we will be proudly flying our Pride flag, and we have it right here. You can purchase this on our website for only $8 at ornerymuleracing.com. And our runners will also be getting a Pride bag with all of their race gear. And if you're interested in any other stuff, we have the Pride tech shirt. So thank you for tuning in. We hope you're enjoying the live coverage.
Hi everybody, Ben Light here with Kagala. Thanks for joining this 30 hours of live coverage of the Kettle Moraine 100. I know we're excited about being 2021 sponsors of all Ornery Mule Racing events, and including this historic ultra running event. I mean, how cool is this to be able to watch this event live from around the world? I know we're excited to be able to see so many runners using our ultra trail light and the difference it's making for these runners as they run through the night. I know that this light has been a game changer in all my overnight events. If you're looking to pick up the Kagala, wishes everyone at the Kettle Moraine 100 good luck.
I just wanted to tune in a little bit and kind of talk about what the runners are going to get and what they're going to see at the races. Right now, I'm actually in Crystal Lake, Illinois. I'm at my store, Ornery Mule Racing Trailhead, and this is the Dirt Trail Running Podcast studio. And I'm here with, like, right behind me is a painting that I did. And the painting's the special logo that we had made for the 25-year anniversary of the Kettle Moraine 100. And I just loved it so much that I wanted to paint it on the wall. And so all of the runners are going to get that on their shirt. So the shirt's a really nice soft tri-blend. That's the Ornery Mule Racing brand. So this is the shirt. We have male and female specific shirts. This is something that you could run in, or it looks great going to a party, but the tri-blend is nice because it doesn't show sweat as much. It's like moisture wicking. It's just really comfortable, and it's a really nice shirt that we think that all of the runners are going to enjoy. And then the runners are also getting custom bibs, and these are bibs that I designed. I'm super proud of how they turned out. So this is the 50K bib, and everybody gets their name on their bib. This is the 100-mile bib. And then we have the 38-mile fun run bib. So this is Linda Lopez, who's actually at Tamarack Aid Station. She was going to run the 38-mile fun run, but Flatlander Running Club out of Chicago decided to run an aid station, and Linda and Carlene are running the station. So they're going to run the 38-mile fun run next year. And then this is the 100K, which we have an amazing 100K course. So the runners, they're running for their swag, and they get a belt buckle. And so you're running in the kettles, and we've always gave a copper kettle for the 25 years that we've been putting on the race, but copper kettles were getting really hard to get. So we switched to a copper belt buckle, and it has the owl eyes, because people are just so focused on getting the finish line. So I don't know if you can see really well. There's just like super focused eyes, like they're after getting that belt buckle. So really gorgeous, designed by Leslie Mitchell. And then Leslie Mitchell is hoping to run her first 100K, and she really wants to earn the medal that she designed. So this is for the 100K, and it's got the little wings that come up, and it's also copper with the owl on it. And then we have the 50K runners. It's a point-to-point 50K that you start at Scuppernong, and then you get this sugar skull designed owl. So yeah, just really cool. There's like little pine trees in there, sun and moon, like all the stuff that you're gonna see on the kettles. Gorgeous. And then the 38-mile fun run, that's a really great race because it starts at the 100K point. The 100-mile runners come in and they're like right by their car, and they have to go back out for their final 38 miles. It's a really great spot to get past. And with the 38-mile fun run people coming in, it gets a lot of new energy into the course. So it's really nice. It's a non-competitive race. People can start anytime after 5, and they get this, and it's a bottle opener. It's got a really pretty ribbon that goes with it. So we like to design gorgeous swag, and we carry Ornery Mule Racing headbands. So that's something that's our own brand, and you can buy it at running stores around here. If anybody's listening with running stores anywhere, we do sell wholesale to them. And you can also buy these on our website. We have lots of different styles of headbands. They're a great pattern. They fit everybody's head really well. They keep the sweat out, and we just have gorgeous, gorgeous designer. Let's see, what else do we got here? Oh, we got the flag. So this makes a really great gift for crew. It's fun to put in like your workout room, to hang in your car. So this is the Kettle Moraine flag. Just the right size. And then we have these great hats that were made by Local Outdoor out of Colorado. We like working with family companies. And this is a picture that will just remind you of your Kettle Moraine 100 race. It's in the Nordic loop, and Scott Waddick took this picture, and then we had it designed into artwork, and it says celebrating 25 years. This one's my personal favorite. This one's white, and it's got like purple purple pine trees on it, and it's got the owl, and it also says celebrating 25 years. So I think that's it. But yeah, thank you. I hope that you enjoy and keep watching our show. Remember to hit the like and subscribe button.
During that, we've switched people again. So would you like to introduce yourself minus your Viking outfit?
I'm Greg Sturdy, one of the local coyotes out here supporting Duffin Aid Station under James Wright today from 3 till 2:30 with my wife. Excited to be out here with you guys and hang out again. I've gotten to hang out with Ryan a little bit at the last race we were at the Galena, where I was dressed up like a fool, which isn't unusual. And between my wife and I, we were joking about the anchor spots and stuff like that and all of Michelle's races. And between my wife and I, all the races that have actually happened with Ornery Mule, my wife and I have done.
Excellent.
Yeah, we're both newer to the distance set, and but like we ended up running into Michelle with one of our local running groups with Fleet Feet a few years ago when we started running, and she came out and really kind of slowly eased us into like, oh, we got this race, you guys should try this one.
It's 100 miles.
No, not, it wasn't quite that. It was some of her smaller ones that she had, like there was the Gnome and the 10K, and we're like, oh, and my wife doesn't like the winter stuff, but I started to look at that and like, oh, that could be fun. And we did a winter one before where we dressed up, and so kind of got in all of our races. And Juan, who I took the spot of over here for broadcasting, I actually met Juan Moran at the Arbor Ridge, which was started by Steven Streaker, a friend of mine, and he started that race with his family, and that's a fun race. There's a 3, a 5, and a 10 at that course at the Arboretum up in Janesville. And again, for like the Illinois thing, like we've joked about that in the Midwest. Oh, it's Midwest, it's all dead flat. It's like, not at all. That race is, I want to say, about 145 foot a mile, which is the same as elevation profile roughly as Frozen Gnome. Frozen Gnome's a rough course. And then Earth Day is a little bit softer at $135 at $135 a mile for that course set and things like that. But Arbor Ridge is a rough little course. There's a couple of hills in there that are just steep. And you start off the race, depending on how the course set starts on those ones, you can start off that race with a big pack, and there's this big long downhill that you can just thrash your quads on the front end of the 10 mile, which is fun. But Juan was just flying through that course. There's a great shot of him on Ornery's site with when he won, it was for that race in 19 that he won, and him leaping over the one water crossing and things like that. It was really fun.
Excellent. What time of year is that race?
Arbor Ridge is it's normally in spring.
Okay.
I'm trying to remember the date set on that one. It got canceled before, but it's usually a spring race, or spring, early summer, I should say. July is when it was supposed to be last year. It was a little later, but
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent.
So.
Well, I see you guys have some cool lights out in front of you by one of our sponsors, Kugala. I'm a little envious here again with Ryan's gear. And Greg, he looks like he has an awesome lamp as well. Why don't you guys kind of show us what you have?
I've got the Kugala, the KA3 pack, the heavy. I actually, when I started running, I'm a newer ultra runner. I started in 2019 was when I started with things, with the groups. And actually, Kettle 50K was my second one right after Ice Age, which is not recommended to do 250Ks as a rookie starting off like that. But I did that with actually my friend James here, who's captaining Duffin, and our friend Ethan. We did that all together, but started running and getting into interesting races like Scotty Coomer does in the winter. And actually I called Kugala directly because I'm an engineer and OCD type A, whatever you want to call it, right? Like I wanted to understand electronics in the cold don't do well, so I specifically called them up, told them, and this is kind of a little bit before they were starting to get as much traction as they are now in the ultra scene, and called them up, spoke directly with one of their technicians and their engineers, kind of talking about what they wanted to do in the battery life and the packs for a winter race, because it gets to up here in Wisconsin, it'll get 20 below at some of these races. It gets pretty brutal. So called them up and got the big 3-pack, which is a really large setup for a 20,000 milliamp battery, and this one's a couple years old and everything like that, with the 3 different port sets, and then obviously the standard light bar that comes with it, and it worked out really well. I've used it for a few winters now and had it out for overnights and things like that, and again, just being mindful of how much light you do need, but it does put out up to 800 lumens. One thing that it comes with that I don't know how many people train with it, I don't know if Ryan you have, but it comes with red and green lens adapters, which is something that a lot of people don't necessarily do in the, I don't think of the ultra world, but in the hiking or spelunking type things. To avoid disturbing wildlife, they provide, because this is an adventure light, it's not a running light, even though we use it that way.
Yeah.
They provide lens covers in reds and green films, and that's to avoid disrupting wildlife and things like that. The light color changes. It also can help you to get better at your light adaptivity in the dark. So it's one of those things that, like, again, because it's not specifically just a white light base or something like that, and their Cree LEDs diffuse so much light, that's why they don't have shadow. But you can also work to train with those red and greens to get your eyes more adapted in the dark. And it's not dangerous in that respect of, the color change your eyes to adapt to it, and it's not as disturbing for wildlife. So if you're going into somewhere that has a lot of natural wildlife or caving or something like that, they provide these nice little clips that they snap on and things like that. But yeah, I've really enjoyed the light, as you can probably tell by me yammering about it randomly.
It's awesome.
A
lot of good details.
Yeah, a lot of fun with it, and little different ways to adapt it. It's got this magnetic bar, which Ryan likes.
I mean, so there are these super strong, teeny tiny Earth magnets,
Yeah,
and my little brother is a geologist, so I had to be like, hey, check this out. But they're so strong that I can put it on the inside of my daughter's, I call it the chariot. It's a super souped up stroller. But this I put on the inside and I just snap it on there. There's no setup. And when I'm getting her all set up and going for a night run, the last thing I want to have to do is try to set up a light. So the convenience of it, it's just so adaptable, and that's what I like. Like what you just taught me is all new. I was like, ooh, it's a bright light and it has a magnet. And now I'm like, no kidding. I don't even know that I keep the little snap things with the red and green. I don't even have them in here. And I have the teeny tiny one. Is that not heavy?
It is heavier.
I mean, but
it's a bit heavier, but
do you
again,
put it in the back? Like,
yeah.
Where do you carry this in your pack?
It depends on the pack I'm running with. So I've got the long cable.
The weight difference between these two.
I've got the long cable cord.
If I have to stick that in my pocket, that'll pull my pants.
No, definitely not in the pocket. Definitely not in the pocket. Definitely not in the pocket. No, I use it in my vests, or in my winter races. I've got it's a kind of a fast pack, high centered back, but it's got front set pouches for water canteens and stuff like that. So yeah, it'll go in the back, and again, to keep it isolated, and again with the winter and the races and the snow and the sleet, it'll go in the back in the pack there. And I usually actually put this in a plastic bag, and then I'll insulate it, or I'll put it into a dry bag or something like that, and then between my clothes in the winter races to keep it, and I keep it close to my back, and I sweat. It doesn't matter. I know a lot of the winter racers like sweat's the enemy. I'm fuzzy as all get out, right? Like I sweat if it's 20 below and I'm moving. If it's just how I am. So for running in the winter, I put it actually against my back, so I get a little bit of heat off my back, keeping the battery in a decent position, and it stays okay back there. But yeah, I put it in the pack back there, and then thread the cable back through the pack. So most vests do have double wishbone loops, one for the water, one for that. So then I'll thread it around, and I usually either split it vertically or horizontally on my chest, depending on how that pack sits and how much gear I've got.
You have the Velcro like I do, so you just wrap it around your straps, right?
Yeah, and they come with a couple of different ones. These are the short Velcros that are stretchy, and they come with then the spool Velcro that's actually more for hard secure line stuff. And then they've got the kit. Yep.
I like this one. I haven't bought any carabiners yet, but Jeff Leonard, he uses 2 carabiners and hooks it to the little spots on his vest where you can, thread extra things or whatnot. And then he just has to unclip one side of it to take his vest off at an aid station. So I thought that was, because I have to unvelcro one side so I thought, I'm just training with it yet. I haven't run anything at night but I'm doing the Hennepin 50K, and so that's actually a night race, and so I'll be using it for a race then, and but it will be hooked to my daughter's chariot. But I just I thought that was pretty ingenious the way he had it on there. So.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people do that, and they'll take I can't remember the name of the brand or the styling, but one of the waist pouches. One of the waist belts, not the flip, but there's a couple others similar to that.
Yeah.
And they'll hook that with some carabiners around the side steps, and then they'll keep their phone in there. And they like the positioning, and then the battery packs behind it, and then it keeps. As I'm poking my belly, and Ryan's poking his belly.
I don't think I would be able to see the light if I put it in a waist pack.
You do, but you could put it up high or whatever. But
I like it here.
a lot of people put it there too, and that's a nice, comfortable waist position. For it as well that I found is good, and it doesn't, again, because it's low set on the hips and with those neoprene or stretchy style pouches, they don't seem to bounce bad or cause any trouble for people. And again, the light diffuses so well with the unit that it really does a great job out there in the dark, we found.
Sounds like it's a very versatile light where you can place it just exactly where you want to have it. And it looks like it comes with a very wonderful battery life. I think I've personally experienced time out on trail races where I didn't have my battery with me with my light, or my battery had died. So I think this would be a great investment, and I do think as one of our sponsors that we do get a wonderful discount. Check out the koala. I believe it's at Ornery Mule 15 for the discount.
Yeah, 15% discount with Ornery Mule Racing code Ornery Mule Racing. So
yeah, I got a little update. I had got one earlier from Nathan Castillo. He said that Nick Panish is out. He should be about 35, 36 miles right now, so he's out moving pretty good. And then Matthias Gemmerman was just about 50K, maybe a half hour ago or so. So he's probably in that 33, 34 mile level. So yeah, a couple updates from some of the runners out there. Michelle's checking in. Hi, Michelle.
Hi, Michelle.
We miss you. We kind of wish you were here, but you've got more important things to do right now. So,
speaking of runners, you've put an awesome spreadsheet together for us to kind of look at as we kind of follow our runners, and has all kinds of great information in here. One of the interesting things that you mentioned to us is there's actually one person out there that has, it looks like he has never completed any ultras previously, and he's out there for the 100 miler.
Yeah, I took Michelle's data from the runners, and she asked all this stuff obviously to help with the live feed and to get to know some of the crowd. But yeah, we looked at some of the questions, and one of them was how many kettle starts or finishes have you had, and what sorts, and we've got some of those details in there. How many ultras have you completed? And there's a couple of really high numbers in there. Carl up at I want to say he's about 137 or something like that.
Stats in there.
And then a couple other folks at about 109, 110.
47.
Yeah. But there was one gentleman, I think it was Nick, and I know Ryan's looking for it, that has signed up for the Kettle 100 and had 0 ultra starts. So I was thinking wow, that's a gutsy go. Because this course, while it's not one of the worst races, it's certainly not one of the easiest, and with today's heat and everything. Did you find him?
I think it's a girl. It's Nicole Cuss.
Nicole Cuss. Okay, yeah, that could be it. I can't. You've got the sheet there set, but could be Nicole might be with the. Where are we here? So yeah, right in the center. Bigfoot. Yeah. No, none. This is her first kettle attempt, and the Kettle 100 with no finishes. So yeah. Couple folks with no out there, at least the one for trying 100 with this it's a gutsy go, but I think the sport's grown in such a way that that it's really encouraging people. That again, Ornery's mantra on ordinary people doing extraordinary things, and anybody can do it.
Right.
In that respect, and I didn't believe it either, because I was not a runner until 2017 when my wife said, "Do you want to do a 10K?" And I said, "Sure." And she said, "You know, you actually have to train." Right. And so she kind of got me into it. But yeah, no, I think the sport's grown so rapidly, and we've all talked about that on the show with Michelle, that to go after 100 like this, it's not one of Hennepin's, as Michelle has alluded to. Hennepin's a perfect intro 100. You've got things like, Robert's back in our photo, which is good. Hi, Robert. Sorry. the Hennepin Tunnel Hill's another flat intro 100, but Hennepin's a great intro. She's got that course set up with the support level to do that as a great intro 100 because it's flat.
Yeah.
Even though
the thing that drew me to the Hennepin is that it's also set up to build up to 100. So like a lot of 50Ks, I can't cross the finish line on that cutoff. But,
not yet. No, I'm going to say
not
yet,
no,
brother.
I plan on
You
it.
yeah, come on now.
I plan on it. Prepare to see me in this world forever.
Yeah, I would go.
And then when I can't run anymore, then I'm gonna take up cycling. It's a done deal. But the thing that I really like, and I want to point that out, is that the Hennepin 50K, it has a generous cutoff.
Exceedingly,
because
yes.
instead of being the 8 hours, you get until the 100 is over. So you have 21 hours because it starts at 5 p.m. in the evening. And so then if you needed to take a nap, you could take a nap. So it makes it accessible. And that's what I really like, is the accessibility, because it allows people like me to have huge dreams and have small stepping stones to get them. So, I mean, I want to finish the 100 someday. But I can feel it out for a lot of years. And I mean, I'm not anywhere near 21 hours. And my first 50K finish was 12 hours. And I'm looking to just shave a couple of hours off that this year.
Nah, you'll be good out there.
So
And Michelle,
it's flat and
did you see she's got the special swag if you're an ultra virgin?
oh yeah.
Yes.
If you watch my my interview on the dirt, she asked me why I picked the Hennepin, and I said the ultra virgin shirt. Because I need to wear this shirt, and I love it that Robert has one, of course, in his big bin of Ornery Mule stuff. Ultra virgin no more. So yeah, that's one of the things that drew me into it. And Michelle, every time I mention it, she points out that it's a ultra virgin at that distance. So even if you've already run an ultra, but you want to run a new distance, you can still get that shirt.
Excellent.
Yeah, and I actually we're signed up. That was my wife's 50K. That was a rough one for her, but she did that one. She was injured actually, so she hiked it, and she was cranking it a good hike, 60-minute mile, because she's 6 foot tall and has a, giraffe legs kind of thing. She's a huge gait, so she was cranking, and that was her finish. And she's gonna hate me talking about this, but she knew I was coming on, so it's unlikely that she knew it wasn't gonna happen. But that was her first one. She cranked along till the marathon mark at 16-minute miles. That last 5 miles was 2 hours and 45 minutes.
Yeah.
To crank for her. So because her the gait, and again, we know this from an ultra side, like for those of us, those that aren't out there that are new, if you go in with injuries or you cause an injury and the gait issue, when you're off, even though you can take it so long, it can manifest and just rail your race. And so that's kind of what happened. She knew she was going in injured and working at it and trying to do a hike set, and took her out pretty bad towards the end, but she got it done. She finished cross the finish line. Loves that virgin shirt, wears that thing all the time because it's super cute. And I don't have one, but we're signed up for the 50 mile, which is for both of us. Unfortunately, that's not a virgin race for us anymore, but we're going to be doing the 50 this year at Hennepin.
Excellent.
Yeah, so we're looking
all
forward to
three
it.
of us will be out at the Hennepin.
Yeah,
fun.
I'm real.
Don't worry, it'll look different.
There's a bump.
There's a bump. There's
a bump and a few tunnels.
Yeah,
and it starts to look different. I can't take credit
for that one. Tara said
like
it earlier.
Yeah.
No, the flat terrain's really tough on some folks. I know the off-road terrain can be tough for a lot of folks too, but for me personally, the repetitive stuff is actually really hard to train for. I don't enjoy it as much, and then it hurts me a bit more. So I'm going to do it with our friend Ethan, and we're going to go out there and get it done. But it's going to be probably harder than some of the longer distances off-road than for me. So
see, I'm so super psyched for this. It's my A race this year.
Yeah.
I'm doing other stuff and giving my heart to it and lots of elevation, but I'm pushing Kala, my daughter.
That's what you said.
And I just am so excited about it because she's very excited about running. So she has cerebral palsy, but she's going to she can propel herself with this special gait trainer. She can't bear weight, but she can move her legs and push herself forward. So she's going to run the last 100 meters and finish.
Oh, that'll be something to
50K.
see.
And there won't be a dry eye in
so
a mile
I
in place.
am loving
Man.
the flat terrain
Yeah.
and the repetitive stuff. And I have some big goals for myself. I'm gonna hate myself for saying it, but I jog. I run a really slow pace, but my goal is, because it's so flat and repetitive, is to be able to sustain a steady pace the whole time at a really light jog while pushing her, instead of having to take any walk breaks. So I'm trying to see how far I need to back off of my pace to really keep that going for the whole 50K. And I do have a friend, Brenda Fry, who's going to run the 50K with me and pace me. So hopefully she can slow down enough, because she does pretty fast 50K.
No, it'll be good. I think, like you said, the crowd with Ornery and that race is set up for all the new pokes, and the course is, again, it's deadpan flat, right? It follows a river or a canal set that's out in Coloma. It's really pretty. There's great aid stations. It is kind of one of Michelle's biggest races, and the town loves it. Really comes out. The fire department with the big gigantic ladder truck and flag. I mean, it is a spectacle out there. But I'll say from a crewing side, for those of you who've not been out to Hennepin, it can be longer to drive parts of that course for supporting it than it is to run parts of it because of the connectors. So from a crew planning perspective, that's when you really want to make a game plan on with your crew to figure out distals for point to point and which aid stations you can really get to and when they're going to be needed, because it's not the easiest to hit certain points on it in that respect for the crew. Not a race that really needs a ton of crew in that respect, because challenge-wise, no.
Yeah, I mean, I think the aid stations do a phenomenal job of helping everybody out, and I've run both the 100, the times that I've done the 100 out there without crew, except for my wonderful husband who meets me at the last 13 miles. But the aid stations do a great job of taking care of you.
It's Dean Carnassus, right?
Should be
Oh,
Dean.
excellent. We have somebody special really coming up in a few minutes.
And well, so Loretta has said that, updated us that Davin, I can't pronounce his last name. I'm so horrible with names. He's going to be on the dirt coming up this weekend.
Davin, I'm gonna guess. So don't hold this against me if I butcher it. Oxfig. Maybe it sounds very Nordic. And then we got Sammy Stimek that's out there. He's going, and it looks like Carter Collins thinks Julie Sosanek's going to win it. And Julie's doing great out there. So, and then Davin's going to be on the dirt Friday, June 18th at 7. So if you guys want to tune in for that one, Davin Oskvig should be on with Michelle and the gang. So we should be having Dean joining us shortly, but prepping for that.
I'm totally going to ask him about his pizza. Like, how do you carry something that big?
Well, I suppose you just.
Yeah,
I'm honestly thinking, just like this, and then holding, like a giant, a giant taco, right, or whatever he said, yeah. So it would work, just warm and awkward.
I'd
I
like
would
to
think.
try that.
I just sense it going everywhere, really.
Yeah, it does sound messy.
So, no, we're excited to have Dean on. Obviously supremely famous. I was joking with Michelle because when Dean gets on, I'm not much of a follower of the sport. I have no problem admitting that as a rookie to it. I'd heard Dean on a couple of things before and some of his interviews, and he just seemed like such a interesting, down-to-earth guy that's, again, done incredible races with the Badwater and the races, all the marathons every day and things like that, and then some of his 200s, and then the multinational races and things like that, where he's done all the different continents and things like that. So he's just got such an amazing resume.
Well, you did better than me.
I can cram when I have to.
I'm obsessed with gear and races and stuff like that, but it's a struggle to be obsessed with people.
I agree.
So I want to be, but it's more of the people that I build friendships with out on the trail and being part of the community. Those are the people whose names stick in my head and things like that. So
yeah, no, understood. I think Robert's probably our ringer on Dean.
Yeah, no. As soon as they said that he was coming on the air, I looked over and I was like, trying to communicate with Robert with my eyes. I'll switch with you because I have never missed an Ornery Mule book club since I joined the book club until the night that Dean Carnassus was on there. Because we had spent the whole day at Riley Hospital with my daughter, and I was just too tired to even pull myself to the thing, and I was so sad. But it was apparently a great book club, so I'm glad Robert is here to hold us on that one.
I feel very, very fortunate to be able to just have the conversation with Dean after reading all of his books or listening to all of them, because I listen to them while I'm running. It is absolutely one of the reasons why I got into ultra running and pursued and keep pursuing it, and pursuing big dreams, because you see somebody, another human being, being able to run 350 miles, being able to run 50 marathons in 50 days in 50 different states, you cannot help but then to begin to believe that it is possible to do. Yes.
Dean, can you hear us?
We can't hear you.
So we can't hear you yet, Dean. We're bringing you on.
Try again, Dean. Audio on your end's a real low, Dean, there. I don't know if we can maybe get you a little closer, or... Let's give her a sec here. They're monkeying with the audio.
We can't get it louder. I'll grab some.
No, you're good there, bro.
You're getting better.
Maybe. We thought.
Hey.
Try again, Dean.
Yeah, Dean Carnassus. That's a little combo. Order.
Clipping a little bit, but your audio level's better. Let's see here. I heard something about California.
I see the mountains behind him. That's nice. Yeah, what a view.
Are you up at home, Dean?
Yeah, I'm on my deck.
Oh, that's sweet view.
Just come in a little tighter for us, Dean, and the audio should pick up, and then they won't clip. I think we're getting some backdraft from wind.
Hey,
yep.
You know, give me.
He said, "Give him a second."
Okay, we'll give Dean a second here. The technological world we live in, right?
Yeah, this is right. This is super exciting to have a one of the forerunners, one of the people who laid the foundation for ultra running. That's what we love. I mean, think about it. Where else in any other sport can you go? Can you have a conversation with a legend? And truly, he is a legend. Wait till I share with you guys some of his accomplishments and not just who he is seen as in the world of ultra running, but who he is in the world in general, as it says here, as one of Time Magazine's one of the 100 most influential people in the world. I mean, is that awesome or what? That is so awesome.
I think the voting is rigged.
Voting is rigged, is it? Which voting are we doing? For how cool Dean is, or how not cool Dean is? I don't know, man.
No, for the 100 when they announced.
Which voting?
They announced the 100 most influential people in the world.
Yes.
So Robert is a huge fan.
Dean, how are you?
How was the How's the audio now?
Very good.
A lot better.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Can you hear us okay?
Yeah, there's a delay, but let's make it work.
Absolutely. And that's what ultras are all about, right? Problem solving. Finding a way to make it happen. So here we go.
I tell people if things are going well during an ultra marathon, just give it a few minutes.
That's right. Either that or maybe you're not running an ultra. So, Dean, if I may, I'd like to properly introduce you. For those people who are tuning in and watching us live or who are going to watch on the replay, I want to make sure that they understand what an amazing human being you are. So, without further ado, Dean Carnassus was named by Time magazine as one of the 100 most influential people in the world. Dean has pushed his body and mind to inconceivable limits. Among his many accomplishments, he has run 50 marathons in all 50 U.S. states in 50 consecutive days. He has run across Death Valley in the middle of summer, and he's run a marathon to the South Pole. On 10 separate occasions, he has run a 200-mile relay race solo, racing alongside teams of 12. His list of competitive achievements include winning the world's toughest foot race, the Badwater Ultramarathon, and winning the 4 Deserts Challenge, racing in the hottest, driest, windiest, and coldest places on Earth. A New York Times bestseller, author Dean is a frequent speaker and panelist on many running and sporting events worldwide. Now, here are his 5 amazing books. Let's start with The Road to Sparta. Reliving the ancient battle and epic run that inspired the world's greatest foot race. I love the book and the history in that book. Next is a book called Run, 26.2 stories of blisters and bliss. After that, we've got 50-50, secrets that I learned running 50 marathons in 50 days and how you too can achieve super endurance. Next, maybe my personal favorite, I love a runner's high. It is Ultra Marathon Man, Confessions of an All-Night Runner. And finally, his final book, we've got it right here. It's called The Runner's High, My Life in Motion. Dean Carnassus. I mean, really, Dean, thank you so much for being here. You are an amazing human being. You have done so much for the sport of ultra and for the world, on a whole. Simply by seeing life in such a way where you always believe there's something else, where there's something more that you can do. And your legacy is going to live on forever. So thank you for being here and allowing us the chance to speak with you.
It's an honor, and I only wish I could be running with you.
Obviously the invitation is always open. We love to have you out here. One of these years. I know Michelle would love to have you here. Anytime, Dean, you're always welcome. So.
Well, I was planning on being there this year, but COVID had different ideas.
We were separate. We were still running together, right?
I went out and ran on that mountain right there. Whoops.
There you go.
Just to to celebrate the occasion. I had to.
Awesome. Well, thank you for that. Guys, do you want to? What would you like to say? Ryan, is this your first time meeting with Dean?
It is, because like I told you earlier, I never miss book club. So I am reading your book. I am part of the Ornery Mule book club. I had to take my daughter to the hospital. So, I'm just awed by you. So, but the thing that I keep repeating to people is your large pizza order, because that's just funny to me. And so, I mean, I don't even know. I kind of guess I'm a little bit starstruck. I don't even know what to say, but I hope to run a race that you're running someday, just to be able to say hi.
And have some pizza together.
Yes, absolutely.
Dean, Ryan was wondering tactily How did you manage holding that pizza? You said it was, I think, a large in the one interview. How did you run with that? That just seems just unmanageable from a floppity.
Well, I told them to make it with a really thin crust.
Got it.
And not to slice it.
So
and then I rolled it into this big Italian burrito. Yeah, and I just moved as I ran.
Got it.
Got all over me, but it was so good.
And I love the story. As I recall, Dean, is it correct that story is in your book, Ultra Marathon Man?
It's in my first book, yes.
Yes. And what else did you order on that delivery?
They brought cheesecake.
That would be hard to eat.
Yes, a cheese. And I don't recall, was it just a plain cheesecake or was it like something flavored?
It had pineapple.
Pineapple.
Now, it was a 200-mile run I was doing.
Yeah.
So I needed food.
And that, if that isn't the best food to have, right, a pizza and cheesecake, and as I recall, I think there was a cup of coffee in there too.
Yes.
And
you have a good memory.
It was a great book. Here's the thing, Dean. The thing I love about your books is they really speak to the individual that of all types, right? Meaning that you're just so personal in there. You're so real in there. You're so dynamic. You're so inviting, and that really makes a big difference for whether we are beginner ultra runners, whether we're just even runners, whether we're just people who are looking for a great story. Your books really pull people in and invite people into a place of imagination, but not imagination as in something that's not realistic, but imagination as in something that is humanly possible because you're doing it.
I think there's magic in what we do, and I like sharing it with other people.
Absolutely. So let's talk a minute about your new book, A Runner's High. I love the book because I think more than any of your other books, you really get like a personal. You really come from a perspective of where running has taken you, and you're so real in the stories that you share with your dad, with your son, and they're really heart touching. And I really enjoy it because I get to listen to it when I'm on the run, when I'm out there, already in an emotional state, and then I'm hearing these stories about your dad, and it reminds me actually a lot about the story with my dad and how we have such a great relationship, and so it really moves me. What is what's a favorite story of yours with you and your dad?
Probably the time we climbed Mount Whitney when I was 13 years old. And Mount Whitney is 14,500 feet above sea level. It's the highest point in the lower 48 states. And we both struggled.
Yeah.
I think which made it all the more better.
Wow. That is awesome. And
I was going to say, Dean, we've got a question from Michelle, the RD. She's asking a couple things. One, in your book, you use the word ornery, and if that was intentional, and because you love us, or perhaps just good verbiage. Then the next one is, next year, are you coming in for Kettle or Hennepin or perhaps something else in the race catalog for Ornery?
Yeah, the mention of Ornery was a nod to you guys, absolutely. And Kettle has been on my list forever, so I'm 2022. I'm there.
Kettle 22, the 100.
I'm the ultra marathon man. Yeah, of course.
We're just making sure how far you want to stretch your legs, Dean.
The warm up.
I guess I'm signing up for Kettle next year.
Yeah, I think that's a done deal. I mean, if Dean's doing it, I'm going to do it too.
That race day sign up is going to be awful.
Right. We're going to talk to Michelle, see if we can get something in there. And so, Dean, you know, I love the story in your book about how you know, I do have a question for you about the book. In your book, you signed up, I don't want to give too much away, but you signed up for a really big race, and you were hoping to get in, right? And I guess it was Western States, is that correct? It was Western States.
That's correct.
You signed up, you're on a waiting list, you're waiting to get in, and then in order to get ready for Western States, you signed up for another one, which was a 100K, correct? And
correct.
You know, you talk about in the book how you weren't sure if you were ready, you weren't sure if you were prepared. What was the reason for that? The ultra marathon man, it seems like you're always so ready and you're such a phenomenal runner, and yet you're so humble at the same time. Was it a race with a lot of elevation? I know it was really hot, right? So tell us more about that race and why it was so challenging.
Well, to run 100 kilometers is different than racing 100 kilometers.
Yes.
And, you know, I knew I needed to hack my fitness.
Got it.
Because I thought I might be getting into the 100-miler, and that was...
Yeah, so you really went out there to race it, didn't you?
To the best of my ability.
Yes, yes. And you did pretty well. Maybe we shouldn't give it away, but you did pretty well in that race, that 100K. So, yeah, I mean, for those of you who haven't read any of Dean's books, 100%, you got to pick this up. It's such a good book. The stories that Dean shares, and then you know you go on to run Western States in the book, and I don't want to give anything away.
Yeah, you should stop giving stuff away.
No, it's
well, we've got a couple things.
It's all good.
We've got a couple of things coming in for you, Dean. First, a general one on the race was the YouTube showing us the runners in action with the terrain out here, and I'm sure Dean's had this in a few races. The Wi-Fi service to get a satellite signal to stream it, it's just not working for us, so we're doing remote footage, bringing it back in as we get it. We do have on the bottom of the screen the streaming of the checkpoints and things like that as we have updates for people, and as people like yourselves sign up to the YouTube, or our people at the aid stations are telling us where they are, we'll give updates. And then Coach Loretta, of course, is wanting a very helpful tip from the ultra marathon man himself, who's run some pretty rough races. It's 88 degrees out here, Dean, about 70% humidity, so it feels like about 91, 92 out here in the Kettles. What kind of tips do you have for some of our runners today on how to deal with the weather?
Yeah, I think 3 things I would recommend. One is to keep your skin cool. So that might be wearing like cooling arm sleeves that you keep wet. I would also say if there's ice on the course, to actually eat the ice. So try to swallow as much whole pieces as you can to get it in your gut. That'll help keep your insides cool. And then wear a hat. Stay protected from the sun. And slow down and wait for the cool of the evening.
I would not have thought about trying to swallow ice whole.
Yeah, I think the ice tips is a great one. Like Dean said, your stomach has to, one, process to break them down, and then the liquids, it cools the setup, so it's just thermodynamics from that perspective. So large amounts of ice is an ice flow. You fill your gut with it, which is also what you can do with warm stuff, hot ramen, soup, potatoes when you're cold, same thing. So inverse portion, it cools your gut, pulls you down. The cooling sleeves is a good tip, like you said, and then the hats. Big wide brim hats, are you a big fan of those ones for some of the, like the races out in the desert and things like that, Dean?
Absolutely. They let some air in, but they keep you completely protected from the sun.
Yeah, you don't see too many. Juan, do you tend to run in a large hat for any of your hot races?
I'm definitely a hat person. I wouldn't say necessarily a large brim hat, but definitely something that maybe you can shove ice in, or that's going to hold a little water, something that breathes, something that's going to keep you cool. Dean, I do have a question for you. When you are running these hotter environments, do you tend to change or your nutrition during the hottest part of the day, or do you tend to keep it the same? As far as what you're eating, what you're drinking, things like that.
I listen to my body as best I can. When it's hot like that, sometimes sweet foods do not sit well. So something savory to me is a little bit better when it's really hot. And, I like to go to nut butters that are pretty salted. Those just seem to work well. But I tell people to listen to everyone, follow no one. So find what works best for you.
Yeah,
I think that's great advice.
That is such good advice.
And I think for a lot of us, when we start ultra running, we get so sucked into what other people are doing. You turn to the YouTube, you turn to the forums, and next thing you know, you're trying 8 different things just because somebody else does it. But that's such good advice to listen to your body and just try and find what works with you. So.
Yeah, Dean, I think one thing we want to make sure from a technical perspective, the scrolling we've got going on the bottom of the screen, that should be updating eventually for the 50Kers too, that they just started at 1, so that'll catch up. Second thing, Dean, I think to your point, the listen to everybody, follow no one. From your perspective, can you kind of walk us through how your diet has shifted over the years and how it continues to do so? Because I think that's something people don't understand, is that as you age, as you train, as you do things, it's always dynamic. You're always a population sample of 1, and it's kind of always a moving target that you're retuning for, especially, I'm guessing, at your level of caliber and athletes, to kind of keep, honing the sword in that respect of how to get better and how to keep yourself sometimes just in the game.
Yeah, I've changed my diet quite a bit over the years, and now I'm very refined in what I eat. And I've gone through like a self-selection sort of diet. So I've just eliminated foods that don't leave me feeling energetic and healthy, and including more foods that leave me feeling energetic. So now I like to say, if I can't pick it from a tree or dig it from the earth or catch it with my hands, I don't eat it. There was a mentor of mine, it was a guy named Jack LaLanne, who was kind of the original fitness, he predated Arnold Schwarzenegger. And he said, Dean, if man makes it, don't eat it. And if it tastes good, spit it out.
Yeah, LaLanne was an amazing man with a lot of, he was such a pioneer of fitness in so many ways that was, almost out of time in that respect. I think that's the trouble with his knowledge and how he had it at that time. I remember seeing him as a little kid, and even my parents were, oh yeah, Jack LaLanne's been around forever, and crazy fitness nut, so to speak, in that respect. But he had those wonderful mantras that were just so simple, but they were so far ahead of the science that was out there. But I know, Dean, you've talked about that in some of your interviews, because I've not read any of the books, I have no problem admitting. But I've listened to a bit of the interviews with Dean, and he's talked about how the natural aspects of the diet and human evolution and things like that, and keeping that kind of simple thing going in that regard. That's kind of what LaLanne preached, and he, 95, I want to say, and he was, impeccable. Like, the man could do more push-ups than most people at 93, 94, 95 than, a guy or a girl in their 20s.
Right.
He was just a phenomenal fitness man. He was somebody I always thought was amazing.
I wonder what the guy who's the oldest person running Kettle today, he's running the 100, he's 71 years old. I wonder what his diet, does he spit out things that taste good? I bet he
does. Dean, you mentioned climbing Mount Whitney when you were 13. And, I remember being a kid, and I was always the type of kid that I would see a mountain and I would just dream about climbing to the top. I think, man, I wonder what it'd be like to climb it. Did you grow up like that? Were you that type of person, very adventurous, mind-centered? And do you think that helped transition to running ultra marathons and everything you've accomplished since then?
Yeah, I spent most of my life in the outdoors when I was a kid. So I remember climbing all the peaks around Southern California and loving it. I did the Grand Canyon, so rim to rim to rim. when I was 12 years old.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, and that's something that, so people who don't know, rim to rim to rim, that's what, a little over 40 miles and approximately maybe 10,500 feet up and down both ways, or a total. Is that correct, or?
Yeah, that's. I think it's a little bit more vert, but the thing with the Grand Canyon is it's so hot when you get in the canyon, it's deceiving. Because when you're standing at the, at the top, you're at 9K, so it's kind of cool. And as you get down in there, the temperature goes up. It gets really steamy.
That's amazing.
Michelle wants to know about your diet during the race, since you're now hooked for Kettle 100 next year. Just so you know, not getting out of it, Dean. Do we need to go shopping, hunting and gathering specifically for you for next year? Do we need to have that could be actually a great local thing. Michelle does great with Ornery, actually supporting local businesses. Actually, we had that at Galena. One of the local farmers was offering local beef and things like that was raised, pasture raised, things like that. So should we try to get a very organic backdrop for your eating when you're coming out for us, Dean?
Yeah, I'll have some free-range elk.
Free-range elk? Okay, those are not native. So
I love it. I mean, why not? I mean, the thing I love about Ultra is the aid stations and the variety of foods that are possible at any given aid station. And I think that the reason for that is because when you're running that long of a distance, you do have those urges. You do have, right, the desire to eat different kinds of foods. So Dean, when you're out there and you're running those longer distances and you're in your later miles, what kind of foods do you look for at an aid station, or do you pack your own?
No, a good aid station has the 3 food groups: fat, sugar, and salt.
Yes. What's your favorite fat?
Nut butter.
I like the nut butters.
The nut butters, okay.
But who has never turned down a quesadilla with avocado? At some aid station. Yeah.
That sounds really good right about now, actually. A quesadilla with avocado.
Avocado toast.
Mmm. And then what's your hydration plan look like?
I work with a company called Hammer Nutrition.
Okay.
So I use a product they call Heed. And it's it's a long chain carbos, the kind of thing. So it's no simple sugars.
Okay.
And it also is electrolyte fortified. And the one thing I like, it's got ginger powder in there. And I find that ginger really settles my stomach.
Yes. Very good. And is that a supplemental drink for you? Do you drink a lot of water during your runs? Do you kind of split it up?
It depends on the temperature and the humidity. The thing with me is I'm somewhat of a camel. I don't need to drink too much.
Wow. Okay.
So yeah, I don't sweat very much.
Got it.
I wish that was me.
How do we acquire that gene?
He says he doesn't drink that much, and everybody grabs their cups.
My parents are I'm 100% Greek, and I think it just comes from that the warm Mediterranean climate, that maybe I have a gene that you don't need that much.
Ah. I wonder if they adopted me, if I could acquire that gene. No?
I think no.
All right. By the way, I love your parents and how you're so close with them. And your dad, I gotta say it, ultra marathon man. How he loves to call you ultra marathon man. It's so endearing, Dean. It really is. You see the close.
Said let's use that as the title of your book, And I fought it. I said that those are too big, too big of shoes for me to fill. Like, I don't want a title like that. And he insisted. He said that's going to be the best title, and it just stuck.
Yes. And whether you were going to or not, you have absolutely lived that title. Because when was that first book written?
I ran my first ultramarathon in 1993.
Wow. Okay.
I don't think you guys were even born yet.
Oh, now.
I was gonna say, I think we're all over that age.
I'm pushing 50 here, so.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm 40.
So 1993, and your book Ultramarathon Man, was it 2005?
2005.
2005, yes.
But of course, I write about my first ultramarathon in 1993.
Got it.
So my wife just messaged me and she said, "This guy looks like he's so healthy. He sweats different than everyone."
Now, Coach Loetta wants to know if you've imbibed a couple of pina coladas with some heat. Does that go well, or not part of the training?
She knows all my secrets.
I did have a business sort of question for you. I know, Dean, you mentioned a lot that you're an introvert, and I know a lot of the folks in the community with trail running and the ultra community, it's so diverse, and I think everybody's so embracing and adapting. I know, Ryan, you've mentioned you tend to be an introvert. I'm an extrovert. Dean, you're an introvert, but you do this for a living, which is kind of abhorrent in a certain respect. With how often you're training, do you find for your big races, I'm really curious here because I haven't heard you speak on it, do you try to get a couple of down days away from your public work? I mean, honestly, your job with speaking to help recharge, or have you just been able to endure and adjust to your profession in this respect, with you being a spokesperson in that regard, to get ready for a big race? I'm curious how you deal with your energy flow from being an introvert perspective.
That's a very perceptive, question. And those mountains behind me, that's where I decompress.
Okay.
Because sometimes when I do these events, a book signing might last for 4 or 5 hours, and it's pretty intense. So, I love people and I love interacting with others, especially runners. But there comes a point where I just get overwhelmed, and that's where I go on these long solo runs.
No, I appreciate you giving us that feedback. Like I said, it was something that made me curious. My wife's an introvert in that respect, so I'm very cognizant of energy and how much it can pull from certain people or how people draw from it. So, and again, at an elite level like you are with all you've done, it made me wonder how you cope with it, and obviously the running is part. But then if you do trying to prep for a race, if you will, sort of acclimating to elevation instead of acclimating away from people for a real big race for you or something like that. So.
So Dean, with a lot of people going to be watching live here and then watching in the replay, I'm sure there's going to be a number of runners who are just getting started. Maybe they're just getting started in running, or maybe they're just getting started in ultra. What kind of advice would you offer to somebody who just wants to see what they can do, what's possible for them, and that would really serve them well?
I tell people that I start slow and taper from there. So you don't have to go fast. You just have to go. So I think it involves shifting your perspective and your paradigm, that it's not about speed, it's about endurance, and to enjoy the adventure.
Mm-hmm.
An ultramarathon, you might be out there all day and all night. And not many people spend all day outdoors. So it's a very unique experience. And I think something very essential to who we are as human animals.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a great point, Dean. I feel like I have that conversation with a lot of people. I tell them I run, and I tell them, maybe they should try it, and they're like, I don't like running it. It's so hard. I get out of breath, and I feel like I'm always telling them, man, just don't run so hard, man. Slow down, They're like, I hate it. I'm like, maybe you're just running too fast. So that's really great advice. Just slow down a little bit. I like that.
Yeah, I agree with that wholeheartedly, because I'm very slow. I've lost a considerable amount of weight, and I've used running, but the motion of running. Most people see me and they call it walking, because a lot of people can walk faster than me, but that's stringing it together. Like if you're running so hard you're out of breath, then you're not really getting the benefit that I get from running by running slow. So I always think that in my head, like start out slow and slow down. Oh, he's frozen.
Oh, we've got you on a little bit of a glitch there, Dean. We'll hopefully get you back here in a sec.
Can you still hear us, Dean? Oh, there we go.
Are you sorry, you guys?
No problem.
I'm doing my best here. It's as though I'm in a time capsule, because I hear my voice. I hear my voice repeated in my ear. So the audio is there's something weird's going on. I'm trying my best.
Oh, this is all good. I mean, like we said earlier, this is what Ultra's all about. About adapting, about problem solving, figuring a way out, and I think that's a big reason why Ultra is taking off. I remember the last time we spoke, Dean, where you shared how 20 years ago, 25 years ago, the Ultra community, the number of finishers you were saying was so minimal, right? And now there's, I think you said something like over 200,000 finishers now in Ultra. Can you expand on that?
Well, there was 135,000 in North America, and there was about a 250,000 globally.
Okay.
And you're right. The first year I ran an ultra marathon, there was 3,500 finishers. And when I first started, I was spending as much time surfing as I was training. I didn't have a coach. I didn't even know what a training block was.
Mm-hmm.
And nowadays, there's decorated collegiate athletes that are getting into ultramarathoning, and they're blowing doors. I mean, they've been well trained. A lot of them are Olympic qualifiers, and they're just tearing it up. So the sport has evolved in that way considerably.
And I think a big part of the evolution has to do with the fact of us, like we were saying earlier, about being patient with the process. And it's something that's really inviting to people, in that in life in general, so often we feel like it's not okay to be ourselves, or we have to try to keep up with the Joneses, as the saying goes. And in Ultra, it's kind of the exact opposite, in that we realize that we're never going to be perfect, and that we're constantly problem solving and doing our best. And the reason that I love Ultra, and Dean, your humility, is because what we do is we let people know it's okay not to be okay. Because in Ultra, it's never going to be perfect. We're constantly troubleshooting, and I think this is a reason why this is such an important part for what you are doing, Dean, for the entire community, for the world at large, is you're really giving people an avenue to be themselves, to strengthen their physical body and their mental health.
Well, I think ultramarathoning is still very inviting, and we're very supportive of each other.
Yes.
And we're welcome to having new people, join us. And I hope that spirit never changes. When I do, I've done over 300 road marathons, and the energy is just different at a marathon than at an ultra marathon.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think that is, Dean? Because I think most people who have run a road marathon then transition to ultra marathons, I think they agree with that. You see it immediately, like, oh, it's a completely different experience. Well, why do you think that is? Just curious.
Even the food's different.
Well, like when you do the Boston Marathon, when you see someone, the first question they ask you is, what's your time goal? It's a race. But an ultramarathon is an experience. It's much more comprehensive and much more engaging, I would say. And people define victory as making it, is getting the buckle or the kettle. They don't care so much about what their time is. They care about finishing.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I mean, there's awards for last ass on the trail, so, I like that.
And I think, Dean, to your point with the attitude, and that's something I personally like much more about the trail set, but people like yourself, Juan, you're not exactly a slacker on running either, let's be honest. The elites, the pros are so accessible, and they stay and they cheer. I mean, you're around the experience of being out there and enjoying the trail set or enjoying the environment or the torture of Death Valley, as Dean knows, or whatever it is, and then being there to see others struggle through it and help them struggle through it. There's just that aspect of it that seems to be always consistent with the elites like yourself that want to be there, including everybody or celebrating whoever was out there suffering the longest. It's such an unusual but wonderful vibe, I think, about the people.
I think that shared suffering unites people. When we see someone else suffering, we have empathy for them because we've been there ourselves.
I mean, there really is no other sport where I could say, oh, I'm going to go do this with Dean Carnassus. If you were a football player, there's no way I would be playing a football game with you, but next year I'm going to run Kettle with you. So, I mean, I love that about trail.
That's what I love about this sport.
And now, do you find, Dean, the stage races, because I have not done one, but reading some of the logistics, and I know some folks who've competed in some of the stage races or the world's, with the one that Corey did, I'm trying to remember, the style stage races or the competition races. Do you find the energy similar in those to an ultramarathon, or are they kind of more business focused, if you will, to get it done and hammer out those lines?
It depends on the stage race. I've done some that are team races, like the Trans Rockies, where you run with a partner. And running an ultra with someone side by side is very different than running solo across like the Gobi Desert. But the one thing with those stage races is it's so much about survival and just misery and enduring. Like, how much misery can you endure? You don't shower for 6 days. You're sleeping in a tent. It's self-supported, so you're carrying all your own food, and it's just really about minimizing the discomforts and problem solving.
Where do I sign up?
I thought the same thing. I was turned to you and said, you want to do something like that?
Let's go.
Dean, what's your preference? Because it is kind of two very different things. If you're going to race ultra, to try and win a 100-mile or a 50K or 100K, versus I'm going to do a multi-day thing where, like you said, it's more of like a enduring survival type deal. Which one do you prefer? And, do you think one, I guess, outweighs the other? Which one's better?
I love them both, actually. I'm now, because I'm slower, I'm better at the groveling. So I perform better on those multi-day, sufferfests.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So speaking of groveling, Dean, let's give our viewers a little insight into the book. can you talk about the stick and the stickers?
Yeah, I mean, it was the craziest thing. It was during a really tough 100-kilometer race, you know, in the high desert, very isolated. But I'm also thinking at the same time about, I'm going to die out here.
You're running out into the desert. I'm trying, and you describe it so well in the book. You're so detailed about it. You're so like, it's as if I was there. That's why I love this. So, by the way, we're talking about this book here, there in the moment, and it could really happen, right? It could actually be something that I could be told in a race that I'm in. Go out and find this stick, and whatever you do, don't pass it up. And as you're running out there, I remember you saying, "Did I pass it? Where is it? You know, I'm just got to keep going."
I mean, it wasn't a clear-cut trail I was on. You know, it was there. It looked like trails in every direction. So I was, I had no idea if I was lost or. And I thought, you know, if you can't find the stick, you know, the vultures are circling overhead. You know, I'm running out of water. It was pretty desperate.
Absolutely. And then you find the stick. You find the stick. The stickers are right there, and you put a few of them on, since it didn't look like there were going to be too many more people coming through there.
Yeah, there was like 300 stickers, and there were 16 people in the race.
Might as well, right? Get as many as you can. You deserved it, by the way, every single one of those stickers.
But I said, why smiley face stickers? And the volunteer said one of the guy's wives she's a school teacher, so she just grabbed them from the classroom.
Yes. And you know, and Dean, when did this happen? How many years ago was this?
This was 3 years ago. 2 years ago.
Yeah, so really recent.
Yeah.
Very, very recent. And that.
I think I'm still falling down that slope.
I've been running up the slide the whole time.
Yeah, running up the slide.
Yeah,
so
Dean,
that's the secret. Okay.
So Dean, Loretta wanted to remind us that you're going to be on with the Dirt on July 7th with the crew. So you'll be talking to us again and blessing us again with your presence and knowledge. So we're looking forward to that. From a fueling perspective, do you tend to go whole? I mean, you mentioned using heat in your runs and things like that. Do you tend to do a lot of solid foods on your runs consistently throughout? Do you kind of bunch it up and eat on the hour? How do you tend to strike it? Or is it, again, one of those things that depends on how you're feeling in the race and how you fuel with large quantities versus small? And how do you do that?
I think it's the latter. It so depends on the race distance, the temperature, the humidity. So I try to tailor my nutrition based on all of those factors.
Okay. Pack what you plan for and then deal as you go?
Yeah, plan the race and race the plan.
Yeah, Dean, I talked to I guess a lot of first-time people doing ultra marathons, and there's so many products you can buy off the shelf to just fuel yourself with. But then when people, especially step up to 100-mile distance, you have people that are going to be running, 28, 30 hours, stuff like that. How important does it become to actually start eating real food at some time? Do you think it is, or do you think you can get away with just off-the-shelf products?
I think it's just personal preference. And we know we have enough stored body fat to get through 100, but it's about optimization. So we've all shuffled, for the last 10 kilometers in an ultra, completely out of gas, and we know what that feels like. But you can still get to the finish line. So it's, again, comes back to experimentation and just listening to everyone and following no one.
That,
I think that's
that
going
is
to be the
sup-
best
that's
advice of the
super
day,
ad-
right?
Super, super good advice.
Yeah. So far, the quote of the day: "Listen to everyone, follow no one."
Yeah, and I think that's something that, like if you talk to the elites in the sport, they tend to preach that. It's such an individual aspect to find for your own and adjust, and there's not this, so to speak, nutrition plan or health plan that someone follows or they all follow or something like that. It's find your own path, carve it out, play, try, keep trying, right? And I think that's always really helpful, and your discussions on that, I'm sure that comes up a lot in your speaking as well, because of that corollary in life, not just for ultra running, but I know you do a lot of speaking with businesses and development and things like that, that find your way that works for you is an important aspect, right?
Yeah, I agree. And I think experimenting as well is how you find what works for you. So in your training, try different things.
Like peppercini juice.
Any epic fails you can bring us in on there, Dean, where you tried something during a race, a spicy gyro or something like that while you were out?
I ran a race called the Sparta, and it's 153 miles. And I wanted to use only the ancient foods that the Greeks used.
Yes.
During their long runs. So I ate olives and ate cured meat like a beef jerky.
Oh yeah.
And I ate figs. And I had done some training runs for 8 or 10 hours eating figs. But when you eat figs for 24 hours, things happen that you don't want happening during a 36-hour run. So, yeah, you know why we eat figs, right?
Yeah, figs
yeah,
and dates.
to be regular, and when you're running an ultra, you don't necessarily want to be regular.
No.
No, good to know. Yeah, the olives I could see is a good set, and like you said, the dried meat is a protein to push, and then the figs. But like you said, figs after too long between all the sugar and then the fiber set, and it's not one of the more complex or hard to digest fibers. I do dates and figs a lot on my long runs, but not 24 hours to your point, and that would start to wreak havoc with that, I'm sure. No, good to know. So don't do figs or dates of high simple fiber count for that
long. That's right. And Dean, that your story about running that 150 something mile run, that's in your book Road to Sparta.
Yeah, it's the original ultra marathon in Greece 2,500 years ago.
Yes, I love that story.
Well, the story everyone knows is the final marathon, where the messenger Phidippides or Phidippides,
yes, that guy,
ran to the Acropolis. Yeah, that guy. Yeah, and then he died. But it was a much more complicated story than that.
Absolutely, and you tell it so well in the book. And I think a part of the reason you wrote the book is because you wanted people to know the real story of Phidippides and what really happened with the reason why he died after running the 26.2. What the untold story is, what he ran before that.
Yes, and I also wanted people to understand when they were and glory. So I had to make sure people knew that, because it gives deeper meaning to what we're doing.
Of running in general, right? Just the aspect of running, and it goes all the way back, right, to ancient Greece and probably even before that. And you tell the story so well in the book.
Yeah, the ancient Greek foot messengers, they were professionals. So that's what they did.
Mm-hmm.
And the Greeks realized that a trained ultramarathoner could outrun a horse. So they used foot messengers rather than horses.
Yeah, the human endurance, to your point. Yeah, it's quite interesting. Now, Dean, did you get down to the Olympia area?
I've been many times.
Okay. I got down there about over 15 years ago, and got down there in Olympia, and beautiful, beautiful area. Very rural, too, but just stunning to be down in that area in Greece. I really enjoyed my time down there, and very, like I said, rural and farming style life down there. Very pretty.
Changed since then. It's amazing to think that it's still the way it was 2,500 years ago, when the rest of them were so developed.
Mm-hmm.
But you guys, our endurance is outlasting my the phone on my battery, the battery on my phone.
Well, we want to thank you, Dean, so much for all your time and knowledge and comedy with some of your stories. So thank you again for being on. We're looking forward to hearing from you again. You'll be on July 7th with the team. So thank you.
Thank you, Dean.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you guys having me on.
We'll see you in 2022
sorry
Kettle
about
100 with
the
Dean,
audio.
everybody.
It's a date.
All right.
Wow.
That's cool.
I mean, where else can we do this? What other, again, sporting activity, professional, we can't, right? I mean, this is, like, Dean Carnassus is a legend in the ultra world. I better talk a little closer. Yeah, Dean is really an amazing.
Yeah, it was incredible to hear him talk. I always like finding out how much stuff I don't know. Like it's really like one of the most enjoyable things to me. Is you get in your routine of things, you get how you like doing things. You get what you like to do, and then you talk to somebody who's tried so many different things, who's run so many races, and to just have your eyes open to how much you haven't tried or you don't know, or how much there is out there for you to still attempt and accomplish. Like, man, I just get so excited about it. It makes me almost giddy, and it was a pleasure to get to talk to him and stuff.
Yeah, it's kind of like being a kid again in a candy store, a toy store, and there's just this whole world out there of things we don't even know. And I think it has to do with because we love the sport, we love what this is all about, and getting to have that conversation with Dean is like opening us up to, like you said, all of that experience and knowledge that will help us, and then we can then share it with other runners, other community members to help them as well, which is what this community is all about.
Well, and also I just want to say, if it slipped anybody's mind, how about that introduction? Yeah. Wow.
What can I say?
That was great.
The longer he goes, the longer it gets too, right? It's like he almost,
What can I say? Yeah, I mean, I could go on for probably a lot longer because of what he's done in the world of ultra. And he is definitely worthy of that intro.
I haven't been seeing, I think we're having some issues with some of the ultra tracks that it looks like it's been hung pretty badly, unfortunately. So we're getting, the updates we're getting are a bit sporadic. So again, if folks on Facebook can swing for the updates.
Got it.
So unfortunately, we're a little blind right now for the input, but I'm sure we'll get something from the field. But I want to thank everybody for having me on, Michelle and Ornery team, Robert, Ryan, Juan, Val. Thank you everybody for having me on. I'm going to go out up at Duffin, the logger station, James Wright. So we'll be out there for the hundos on the way out through the night. We'll have all sorts of goodies and tricks and stuff like that. You will not be dropping at my aid station. I'm just telling you that now.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm going to be out there
Understand.
at the Omar trail team at Highway 12 all night too. So I'm
Good.
doing an all-nighter with you.
Excellent, my man. So thank you guys. I'll let Juan and Robert take over for a bit, and we'll probably swap out with Val. But I'll see you guys on the trail. Thanks, everybody.
Absolutely. And as Greg is getting ready to switch out, let me just give a word of appreciation for this guy. Greg is not only a phenomenal commentator, by the way. I mean, really, really awesome.
He did this.
This about Greg?
He did this.
Oh,
No, that's Michelle. I did the other one.
Oh, okay.
He's done so much for the community on a personal level. Greg helped me. He was one of my team members when I did another run about a month and a half ago or so, and I learned so much from this guy. I still consider myself to be a beginner ultra runner. Been doing this for 3 years now, and I really took on a big. It was a 200-mile run, and I learned so much. I was using hiking poles for the very first time. I was practicing with them for a little bit before that, but I used it for the entire race. So I ended up completing 170 miles. Used these poles the whole time because of some hip issues that I have, and obviously I wasn't using them the right way. And so Greg was, I really appreciated how he shared with me and how he, really taught me how to better use these poles. Because it's a big deal, right? It's not like you just throw them on and you just start hiking with them, right? There's a certain technique to it.
A few techniques, actually, depending on what
Yeah.
terrain you're on.
Exactly, yeah.
I rely on them to reduce fatigue at my weight. I really, people say your knees are going to get bad, but really my knees have gotten better as time has gone on. But I'm still a lot of weight to just be out on those long distances. So even on a flat terrain, I use the trekking poles. And it was interesting to learn all the different
They
styles.
make such a big difference.
Yeah, tell us about some of the different styles that you would incorporate based on the terrain and how you utilize the poles.
So I've used them. I used them at the last race that I was in, and it was a very hilly. It was very muddy as well. And so one of the things that Greg taught me is that when you're going out, I almost wish I could get up and show you guys. So I'll paint a picture for you, if I may. I was going way out with the poles and extending them too far out. And by doing that, I was using more energy and I wasn't getting enough follow through on it. It was taking more energy to do what I was doing. Instead of what Greg shared with me is keep the poles, when you go out and you go to stick your pole, put it about 6 to 8 inches out in front of your feet.
Okay.
So not all the way out like a foot or 2 feet out, 6 to 8 inches away from where your foot lands. And by doing that, you get better follow through using your poles.
And are you going right, left, or
Well,
bilateral?
That's where technique comes in, and
Yes.
depends on where you're at.
Okay.
So there's like a 3-step, and that's kind of you don't want to, like you said, reach far out. You want to let the pole swing with your natural arm swing, and you want to be able to get 3 steps in between each when you're doing.
So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3,
yeah,
1, 2, 3.
When you're doing it like this, but in the hilly stuff, you kind of do want to do a double, and not too far out, but you do, and you can do a 3-step or a 1-2 step with the double. And I like to go downhill, depending on how steep it is, with the double as well.
Okay.
I'm a cheater. As soon as it's hilly at all, I'm doubling it because it just really it's great.
And
did you swing or do you double?
It depends. It depends on the situation, and it goes right back to what Dean had said. Right? I wrote it down. Listen to everyone, follow no one.
I think that is the best quote I have ever heard.
Right?
I love it.
Yeah, and that's just it. When you're out there, you're practicing, right? You see what works best for you. Practice what the experts are sharing. So I took what Greg shared with me and put it in motion. I was like, yeah, this is absolutely right. This really made a difference.
Yeah.
In my running ability.
You still want it to be natural.
It's very natural.
Yeah.
Yes.
I get into it, and sometimes it helps me get a good cadence going. Just having the poles, just even when I'm not putting a lot, because later I'm putting a little bit more weight on them. But at first I'm just kind of running with them, and they just kind of.
And it's a very natural flow with it, and I'll tell you, it makes such a big difference.
It does.
So the reason I started using the poles is back in January I found out that I have severe osteoarthritis in my left hip, which is a constant pain that I have. when I'm moving, when I'm running. When I'm sitting here, I'm fine, but when I start running, I can feel the ache, and that causes some IT band issues. And I love running, so I'm not going to stop.
Yeah.
Right. The doctor said to me, he goes, you know, I know how much you run, so I'm not going to tell you to stop running. What I would normally tell someone with this type of diagnosis is you need a hip replacement. I said, well, that's not gonna work. I need to figure out another way because I'm gonna keep running. He goes, you know what? To be honest with you, I can't. I've given you everything I can. You should go see a specialist. So I went to go see a specialist, and he tested my mobility. He goes, you know what? Keep running, just monitor it, right, and make sure. And then I heard somewhere about using the poles, and I started using those right away. And now, I mean, you know, and this really goes out to anybody who's having some challenges, right? It's we go right back to what Ultra's all about. It's troubleshooting. It's problem solving.
The experiment of one.
What is it?
The experiment of one.
Yes. Find a way, you know, to get through it, right? And so the hiking poles really made a difference for me, and I proved it. I mean, 170 miles.
I mean, that's
or
for
hip
me,
replacement.
That's what drew me into ultra running. Is that you're constantly having to adapt to change that happens. And as an autistic person, I like things to go exactly how I need them to go. And so every race is a test in flexibility for me. So I practice being flexible. I put in intentional changes into my running schedule and things like that to do that. And so, you know, you had this hurdle, you adapted to it.
Yeah.
And so that's what I'm trying to teach myself to do in normal life through ultra running. And it's had a profound impact on my ability to deal with changes that don't have anything to do with running. And so, you know, I have hypermobility, so I deal with constant pain. If you Google hypermobility, you would find out that the recommendation would be not to run. I want to teach myself to endure things that are hard, and adapt to those things. And we're not trying to go. I mean, well, some people are going very fast. I cannot believe some of the 100-mile finish times that they were reading off earlier. But that's what I love about it, is that there's always a solution to keep running. Always. And if someone recommends that you stop running, then you move on and find someone else. Right. So listen to everyone.
Follow no one. and that's just it, right? Just because there's a diagnosis, it doesn't mean that they absolutely know what you're supposed to do, right?
Yeah, and you got to remember, these are people or physicians who are specifically trained in or skilled, educated in an area, but sometimes that focus can become so narrow that they don't offer alternatives or things that are not as well known for treatment. So that's why I think you become an expert of your body, and it's your job to seek alternatives to healing as well. You know, nothing against the medical profession at all. I am a nurse. I mean, I understand that the scientific rationale to certain things and how the body progresses, and how sometimes we can see a diagnosis which translates into no running. But I also believe that there is another world to medicine, that there are ways to kind of go beyond that normally suggested route of healing. And it also, I think, also has to do with mindset. Ryan, you said you're challenging your mind to become more flexible in certain situations. And I think with ultra running, we all come into a point in that race where we really have to heavily rely on our mind to get us through to the next mile or to the next aid station.
Yes, I love that. So, what do you do?
Good question.
What is your tip?
I tend to go to mantras. So I have a mantra that I tend to follow. Right now it's show up, do what you can do, finish what you start.
Yes.
And then it's always about just get to the next landmark, get to the next aid station. I think it's easy to become overwhelmed when you think of I have 100 miles to go today, right?
yes.
Okay. Well, no, yes, I do, but I also only have to get to aid station number 1.
3 miles to
I
the
only
next
need
party.
exactly. I only need to get to next station number 2, and before you know it, you've made it your 100 miles. There's a lot that goes in between those things too, but you just keep going to the next thing. That mind in your head will come and tell you you need to quit, and it's your job to tell that mind to take a seat back. It's not their turn to talk, and move forward.
Yes.
I like mantras too.
Yeah, they're my favorite.
My favorite thing to tell myself is that true change happens at the edge of your comfort zone.
Excellent
so
one,
I like
Ryan.
to make myself uncomfortable.
Yeah, and ultra running is uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's definitely uncomfortable. I think Erin said earlier today that someone that she was like, "Did you expect your feet not to hurt?"
Right.
Well, no, of course I knew they were going to hurt. And so yeah, no, suffering is part of it. So
Exactly, and you
started
just,
this knowing you were going to hurt.
Yeah.
So embrace that.
Yeah, and sometimes I prefer not to know, and be surprised by the things that might come up during the ultra race, because then you are challenged as all of a sudden, well, I have to take care of this because I have a race to finish. Sometimes if you know some of the difficulties that you may run into, you can talk yourself out of, well, I guess I'm just not going to be able to do that. I think we were talking about that earlier, or maybe Tara was, that if you know everything that's in front of you, it's easy to talk yourself out of taking that next step or the challenge on.
Well, speaking of that, actually, and back to the poles, I run with trekking poles, and Galena Sky is brutal.
It is.
And
brutally fun.
It's brutal in the sense that you think it's not as bad as it is until it's bad. And one of my trekking poles broke.
Oh, goodness.
And I was maybe 12 miles in at that point. And
what did you do?
I ran past Michelle and I said, one of my trekking poles is broken. And she said, you can run without them.
Tough love.
So I did.
Talk about a mindset.
I mean, I was ready to be done.
Yeah.
And she said, you can run without them. And I was
you're like, okay.
Oh, okay. Michelle says I can do it, so I can.
Yeah. Excellent.
And so I kept running. Tara ended up fixing them for me with a popsicle stick, but
yeah, that's what's so awesome about the ultra community. And you guys were talking about that with Dean a little bit, how it's so different from road running. I come from a road running background, and I feel like when I'm on a road race or training on the road, I feel like I'm in a rat race, that there's it's a lot of anxiety in there, and everybody's trying to go fast, and you don't really get the full
privacy.
Enjoyment. Yeah, and the ultra community is like, hey, what's up? How you doing? And you just kind of, go with the flow. You got many miles to cover, and it's just nice and relaxing. And I guess you're in
That's
a rush,
an interesting
kind of.
word, relaxing and ultra.
It is
It's like an
relaxing, isn't
oxymoron.
it? Because you have a lot of miles to cover, and you better just relax into it.
I think in the beginning of an ultra, relaxing, that's a good word. Towards the end, I don't know if I see that word like an ultra being together.
Oh, why is that?
I don't know. You tend to suffer more at the end. I don't see the
But if
relaxing.
you can convince yourself to relax in that suffering, then it's easier to. I mean,
maybe that needs to become a mantra of yours. Relax.
I'll work on it.
I feel like they're relaxing until all of a sudden they're not relaxing, right? Like everything's going good. You're like high-fiving, you're eating watermelon. You're like, yeah, this is so much fun. And then next thing you know, you're like, this is not fun anymore.
Shedding legit tears in the
Yeah,
middle
like,
of
I
the
don't-
woods. You can hear the sweepers behind you, and you just want to be done.
Yeah, I
Do
don't
you
wanna
find
eat
that kind of
anymore.
happens like suddenly for you, or does it creep up on you?
I feel like for me, it's pretty sudden.
I
feel
agree.
like,
Me too.
Or it could be like one trip. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? Like you trip on a rock and fall, then you get up and you're like, all right, I'm done with this.
Yeah.
I'm not having fun anymore.
That happens to me as well.
Yes.
Yeah. I feel like it's more sudden for me.
Yeah, I agree. I know I can feel it when it's coming on, because I have this utmost high where I'm like, this is fantastic. I feel so good. And I'm like,
I
whoa,
love running.
whoa.
Yeah.
You don't feel that good. You don't really feel that good at all. you are just trudging along. Let's take it down, sister. And, you try to talk yourself out of that high, because I know what's right after that high. It's the lowest low.
Yeah, if I feel like a gazelle, I try to slow down.
Yeah.
Not that I ever run like a gazelle, but sometimes I feel
in your
like
mind
that.
you're a gazelle.
Oh yeah, sometimes I feel
and
like
that's
I'm
the
just
important part.
It's like beautiful,
Yeah.
And then I see a video of myself running, and I go,
And it looks
oh,
the same.
No, that's not.
It looks the same. Yeah.
But yeah, no, your body feels like that. But that's when you're pushing too hard.
You're right. And that's where
When
we
you
have to
feel
tune
that way.
into our body and listen to it a little bit more and
Well, I
slow
feel
it
too great.
down.
Slow
Yeah.
down. I like that.
Yeah. Robert, what's your mantra? Okay.
Perfect.
Hi, if you like what you're watching, you can help us out a lot by buying stuff on our website at ornerymuleracing.com. We got lots of cool swag. We have Ornery Mule Racing headbands. This is the limited edition Kettle Moraine 100 headband. It fits your head perfect, keeps sweat off of it. We have the Kettle Moraine flag. We have a pride flag. We have these 25-year anniversary hats. And we have lots and lots of great swag. So head over to ornerymuleracing.com. Thank you. I wanted to show off our really cool awards. So Erica McCarran's, we had her paint a bunch of custom paintings of the Ice Age Trail and of the Kettle Moraine. And we took those designs and then made them into the awards. And this is a miniature version of the first, second, and third place overall awards for all the races. So it's the Kettle Owl. And then it says Kettle Moraine 100 right here in the owl. But just absolutely gorgeous. It's on acrylic. It's really pretty. It's super shiny. It's got a great black bottom. And the overall one's much bigger. But this is just a miniature version that I have for my shop. My shop's in Crystal Lake, Illinois. It's called the Ornery Mule Racing Trailhead. You're welcome to stop by anytime. And then this is also a Scott Loddick inspired picture that we had made into a painting. I mean, I know I've seen this view when I've run the Kettle Moraine 100. So you come around Nordic and you come up over this hill and you can see the finish line and the lights of the finish line. It's just a glorious sight. So we have the gorgeous painting of that site. This is all the age group awards. And then on the back of them, I didn't do it on this one, but I took gold paint and then I wrote which award it was on all of them. And it's really pretty. It's like, I don't know if you can see the acrylic, it just shines on all edges. So it's super pretty. I designed the awards myself. And then for the relays, we got first, second, and third overall on the relays. And so we have a 4-person team. So we got the relay team right here. And this beautiful picture of them running through the woods. And then this is an award that any of us can go for. And I have a feeling everybody's going to be fighting for this. They're going to want to be the last ass on the trail. So this is an award that you can get at all the Ornery Mule Racing events. We always like to give the last ass on the trail their own award. So thank you guys for listening. I hope you're enjoying the show.
All right, Ryan Maher here. We are at the McMiller aid station. It is 10:37 and it is getting hot as hell. Runners are powering through right now, but the heat is definitely getting to people. We are going through a ton of ice, but people are positive and having fun here, and it's awesome to see. We're just trying to keep them cool as much as we can.
I'm Tiffany Anderson, out here working the McMiller aid station with 10 junk miles today. It's a pretty hot one already, even though it's only 10:30 in the morning. So we're going through a lot of ice and ice water and trying to keep our runners cooled down. But most of them seem to be handling it pretty well and getting back out there after they get through the aid station. It's a great day to be out on the trails.
Hi, my name's Keith Hans from Toledo, Ohio. I'm doing the Super Slam this year, which is 5 races. So first up is this one, and then we've got Mohican next week. So I'm just looking to have some fun, see what happens on the trail there.
All right, everybody, this is ZZ Aid Station. My name is Sam. I've been working this aid station with my wife Julie for about 9 years, and we're about 29 miles in, and then people will go out, do a loop, come back 5 miles later, and we have so everyone coming through here twice that's doing the 100-mile and 100K. And as far as today's going, it's a little bit warm, but the clouds are coming in. People were pretty much coming in kind of wrecked, dehydrated, and then patch them up, send them out. They come back and do the same on their way out. And 50 carols will be starting at noon. They'll be coming through here right after their start, and then we'll be done about 5 o'clock. And it gets fast, it gets a little frenzied, and it's fantastic.
Hey, I'm Rachel Bruner.
I'm Charlie Ortiz. How you doing?
And we're over here at the ZZ Aid Station, which is about 29 miles into the 100-mile race. And we get to see our runners 2 times because they do a little loop around Sparta and come hang out with us.
Right.
What we're seeing today is that it's hot as hell. So, sorry, I don't know, I was swearing. But it's hot, and people need to be taking extra care that they're cooling down. So we have an ice sponge bath. We've got lots of cool temperature.
She does the best sponge baths in 3 counties.
You know, I try. So yeah, lots of hydration, lots of salt, all that good stuff is what we're trying to encourage people to take. So that's what's been going on around here. How's it been going for you?
Yeah, it's pretty good volunteering and making people beat the heat.
Exactly. That's the goal. Beat the heat.
Hi, I'm Allison. I'm crewing for my dad, David Ruddle. We're about 30 miles in at the Scuppernong Loop over here. It's super hot, but the cloud just came over, so he's doing really well for the heat right now. Being a crew member for my dad, this is the first time I've been a crew member for my dad, and it's super special, and I'm really excited to pace him at the end for the last 30 miles.
I'm James Ebert. I'm crewing for Darren Dunham. He's out here running the 100-miler. Started out faster than his, projected pace, than his goal pace. Through Aid Station 1 where I saw him. At Crew Station 2 he was on pace, and he's been on pace since then. So heat's taken its toll on him like everybody else out here, but he's doing well, and he's, on track.
What part of the ultramarathon do you really enjoy?
Does he enjoy?
Yeah.
Sorry.
What part of the ultramarathon do you and he enjoy?
He likes doing the long distances. He's got a streak at Hellgate, so I think that's his jam. And I like being out on my own and self-reliant.
Yep.
All right, and we're back. So real quick, we do have an update on the race. It looks like the race leader, Rachel Ragona, she passed through Bluff Road inbound. That's 56.5 miles. Wow. Looks like she went through there about 30 minutes ago. So she's on her way into the Nordic Center, I'd imagine in the next hour and a half or 2 hours. So that's super exciting. And then we probably have about 9 other athletes that are through McMiller inbound, and that's at 44.4 miles. So that's pretty exciting that Rachel, she's already almost getting close to 100K complete. So that's super awesome. Exciting. Yeah, so congrats to her, and hopefully she keeps crushing it. And next we have a super exciting thing. We have some
community stories.
Stories.
We were talking about ways to kind of show what the trail running community means to people, because for me it's a really emotional connection that I have to trail running and the community, because I was 35 when I started running, and I had really spent a whole lot of time really isolated and not having a lot of friends. So being in this community has really transformed my life. I feel like almost like a giddy adolescent with friends. So I requested to see if anybody else had any stories about what the ultra running community and OMR specifically means to them. And I said bonus points if you can make me cry. That was a joke. However, I might cry. Some of these people really got me good. So and now my phone is where I have it, and my wife has just messaged me that my daughter is standing up at the TV watching because I'm the one talking. So now I'm really getting it, because that's my girl. She loves to watch some running stuff. The first one is Christina Gloria, and I believe she's out here doing the 50K right now. These are in their words. I just had them message me in Messenger, and I just clipped it into a document. So bear with me here. I'm not the greatest at reading out loud, but they're really great stories, and I think it's authentic to read it in their voice. So Christina Gloria, and if you don't know who she is, she wears some crazy, awesome costumes at every single OMR race she's at. So this is her story. This is my story with OMR. I started running Frozen Gnome years back. I'm not a very fast runner. I run because I love to be outside in nature and be with friends that like to do the same things and cheer people up, go new places, and make new friends. I've always loved to dress up since I was a little girl. I wanted to be an actress because I wanted to dress up in different ways and different personas. However, life didn't want me to go that way, so I integrated my liking to dress up into costumes into my races. I came to Frozen Gnome dressed up as a gnome, and then Michelle gave me the name The Adorable Gnome. I was so surprised when I arrived at the race and there was a male dressed up as a gnome as well. At the end of the race, he approached me and asked if he could finish the race with me. I told him, of course. We finished the race smiling and holding hands. The following year, I saw the website of the race and the picture of him and me holding hands finishing the race. That was so warming to my heart. I continued with my craziness of dressing up and went dressed as Spring to the Earth Day race. I'm always late, but this time I was awfully late for the start of the race. I arrived and everybody was gone. I grabbed my bib and pinned it on and took off running fast as I could to catch the pack of last runners. On my way, I was announcing myself, saying, "Here comes late spring. Late spring is here." But many runners laughed at it because, let me tell you, that year, spring was late for sure. Again, for my surprise, I was the poster girl for that race the following year. I'm so grateful for OMR and its creator, Michelle Hartwig, because she's kind and the community that draws towards her is kind too. No effort to make the race better goes unnoticed in this community. The reason I love to dress up for the races is to cheer on the runners. I know that when they smile for the silly things I say or how I look, they get energized in some way. I can tell you because I've experienced that personally. It's also a friendly way to approach others and cheer them up when they're in pain or giving up. I'm not fast, but I have energy to go slow and steady and cheer others on. I love OMR because they let me do what I like and be me.
That's awesome.
Wonderful.
So, yeah.
Very awesome.
Christina Gloria is great. She was the only person, because I finished Galena Sky after the time had ran out, and I yelled out. I was just so done, and she yelled back, "Ryan, is that you?" She had been waiting for me because she knew I went back out, because she knew I wasn't quitting. And so she came and she brought me in, and I felt bad because I just wanted to be done. And she was like, "Stop and let me take your picture." And I wouldn't stop. I just crossed the finish line, and she was like running ahead of me and taking selfies, trying to get pictures because I just wanted to sit down. She was like, "Let me take your picture." I'm like, "I just want to be done." And so her costume did cheer me up. The next person is Christina L. Briscoe Emirate. I'm really sorry if I butcher people's names. I'm bad at it. So here's my story of running. It involved the Arbor Ridge race. Although it was not an OMR race the last time it was held, it will be this time. I did the race the first year in 2018, and it was my first trail race. I did the 16K. I don't know what I was thinking and what I was getting into, and the race kicked my butt. My husband couldn't believe that I wanted to do it again in 2019, even though I struggled with it the first time. I signed up for the 16K again and improved my finish time by almost 8 minutes, but I was still one of the last dozen or so finishers. I was so impressed that Steve, the race director at the time, was still standing at the finish line when I crossed and congratulated me on a great job. All along the race, runners were encouraging each other, even as they were running past me or up a hill and already circling back to finish the loop. The running community is always supportive, and I've never felt bad about being slow, unlike many other sports where someone is depending on you to do something for the team and gets down on you if you're not as good as the other people. All I have to do is keep trudging along and prove to myself I can do something. All right, so now here's one of the ones that made me cry.
Yeah,
so here we
away.
go. there's your warning. Some tissues around here.
I've got a hanky for you just in case.
Connie Noonan. Hi Ryan, thank you so much for being you and being a part of OMR. It's just being a part of this community gets me. Last year, OMR events helped me through some difficult times and brought me to my first 100-mile finish. In April of last year, amongst the pandemic, my mother fell. She was 81 years old and not in good health. In order to get her the help we needed, we had to place her in a facility. Due to COVID, we could not see her, and we only got to see her the day before she died. During this very difficult time in my life, OMR brought us many virtual events. I came to know Michelle and so many others. It helped me get through those dark days, and with the help of OMR's coach Loretta, I was able to complete the Hennepin Virtual 100. She not only gave me a plan, she helped me finish it with not just her help, but with the help of our wonderful and amazing running community. Now, as I saw this turtle today, and I'm unable to run right now because I'm recovering from breast cancer surgeries, I feel broken like it was then. But yet I won't give up. I think of all the turtle pictures we posted last year in our OMR events pages, and I know I can't give up. Thank you for bringing thanks for everything you bring our community.
That is awesome. Let's give a plug here for the coaching, OMR coaching.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a coach, an OMR coach, Coach Loretta.
Loretta, both of us.
Yes. And I mean, I love Loretta. She is a phenomenal human being. Just who she is as a person is awesome. And on top of that, her experience and her knowledge and everything she brings, to being a coach is just phenomenal, right? And then, who else do we have our coaches? Val is a coach, right?
Yep.
And
I'm not a coach.
You're not a coach, okay. Right, so Val's a coach, we have Loretta, and we've got another
Coach Steph.
There's quite a few.
There's a lot.
Yeah, and what Loretta's not only an awesome coach, but she's our coach connector.
Yes.
So she's able to, if there's an athlete interested in being coached by Ornery Mule, she goes through an initial interview with them to help match them with a great coach that fits their needs. So it's not just an assignment where it's like, okay, your turn. We really do care about being with the people that match well together with us.
Yes.
I mean,
and Coach Karen.
Yeah, Coach
That's
Karen,
the next person
Coach
talks about her.
Yeah. So there's many of us, and we all have different styles and different strengths, and I think there's one of us can coach anybody, any athlete out there.
Yes, and there is absolutely no pressure whatsoever. I can remember when I was looking for a coach, and I had different options, and I said, quite frankly, I'm going to choose the coach that's best for me.
Exactly.
And I looked outside. In fact, she told me, don't just look here, look outside and see what other coaches might fit you better. And it was that that humility, that willingness to really be there for me, to do what's best for me, that really made a difference in choosing an OMR coach. So for those of you who are tuning in here, if you're thinking about getting a coach, take a look at OMR.
We truly follow Michelle's basis of all of Ornery Mule, kindness and community, and ordinary people doing extraordinary things. We just want to help you be the athlete that you're determined to be.
Yeah.
We're not trying to make you into Dean Carnassus or anything.
Yes.
We will adjust any plan or anything we need to do to help you succeed.
Right.
We know a plan is just a plan, and it has to be flexible to account for life, because we are not professionals. We are not paid to do our training. That's not our job. That's just what we do for fun. And so we need to account for the whole person and not just for the, training for a race. And I think that's what having a coach does a great job, allowing people to find their dreams amongst their, normal life.
Well, yeah, and I've been dealing with a little bit of motivation. It could be medical, whatever. I mean, I'm still running, but it's harder to get out the door right now.
Yeah.
I also feel really guilty to tell Loretta that I can't get out the door.
Oh.
And she sensed that, so she shared a personal story about how she struggled.
Wow.
And it made me feel more because I'm very comfortable with Loretta, but she ran 130 miles last week. So I follow her on Strava, and she's my coach. So then I'm like, I can't not do this workout, even though I'm so exhausted. But she knew that I needed to know that she feels that same way too.
Yeah.
And so that's what I like, is that it's personal, and you build a relationship with your coach, and they get to know your running style and your motivation and why you're motivated and all of that. And so I feel like a coach is great for everyone, even if you're sitting on a couch and you just need someone to call you up or text message you and be like, hey, did you go for a walk today? Like, I think that a running coach is, I would not have thought that before I had one. I would have thought that's for professionals or elite runners.
Right.
But it's really, it's something that's been really instrumental in my training right now.
Yeah. I mean, we truly care about our athletes as people first and athletes second. Because a plan, like I said, is just a plan, and it only works if you're able to do it. So we have to work with all the outside factors that come into your life aside from running, and sometimes that can be quite complicated. And we just say, back to do what you can do.
Yes.
I mean, if you're going to go out and pay a gym membership that you're not going to do, you might as well get a coach that's going to message you.
Hey, that's a very good point.
Because people, how often do you hear that? Well, I have a membership, but I never go.
It's like, okay, I love that parallel, because it's like having a coach would be like having a gym membership that actually goes to you.
Yeah, exactly.
And says, hey, what's going on? This is...
Imagine how motivated you would be to go to the gym if the gym called you and said, I noticed you haven't been here.
You might be onto something. You might be onto something.
I mean, everybody needs to sign an NDA.
Yeah, this is our idea, okay?
Yeah, it's official. It's our idea. So share the rest. Please share the rest of the stories.
Okay, so this next one is from Ellie Jarvie, and I'm actually running a race with her coming up. And she's at the OMR Trail Team aid station all night tonight. And so she says that she doesn't have one dramatic story, but hers got me going too, filled my heart. So she says, I don't have one dramatic story about Omar, but more of a gradual introduction to the community. I started listening to the podcast pre-pandemic, and met Michelle Hartwig at a trail running film festival in Madison. She was kind and sweet and took time to chat with me and was welcoming. She helped me be less intimidated with one of my first in-person intros into trail running culture outside of a group run or race. I was impressed that she took the time to want to know what I was interested in and what interested me about running, and encouraged me to keep running with my local Trail Sisters group. Talk to me about area races and trail running culture. Because of our talk, I signed up for the Earth Day race. It turned out a work conflict came up, which would not allow me to attend Earth Day. I reached out and talked directly to Michelle again about a bib transfer, and we got that done shortly before COVID restrictions occurred. I was so surprised that when I called a number and I was actually talking to Michelle. So I was again a bit tongue-tied. Michelle remembered our talk and again was encouraging and supportive. Slowly, I became more involved with OMR community. I hired Coach Karen McAdams as a 50th birthday present to help me reach my own big race goal. Prior to getting my own coach, my longest distance had been a self-supported 25K with a run plan written by a local coach. That was a good start, but this individualized coaching was so much better. Karen wanted me to check in regularly, communicate my ups and downs, and help me make my big goal of finishing a 62K an actual reality. She helped me make a distant dream into a weekly plan and then helped me reach my goal. This was such a big confidence booster for me. helping me to see that 50 was not too late to make positive changes in my life. Trail running ordered my days and gave me purpose during COVID restrictions. I wish that every middle-aged woman who thinks it's too late or that they are too out of shape to go for their goals could receive the type of support I've received. I also lurked in the Winter Challenge Facebook group, even though I wasn't signed up, because seeing others work on their own regular runs helped me stick to my plan. I joined the OMR book club, and through this experience, I made connections virtually and got some support from other runners, though we couldn't meet in person. Coach Loretta is welcoming and encouraging and is great at making connections among all of us. I've learned from and been inspired by Tara, Robert, Lourdes, Ryan, Coach Steph, and so many others as they talk about their training and races. So many people say that the biggest benefit of trail running is community, and I have to agree. Having these virtual connections helped me feel a part of OMR during a disconnected time. I didn't understand when I first got connected to OMR that it is a culture that checks all the boxes for me. The focus is on kindness and community, especially a community that is queer positive and inclusive to all of us with disabilities, makes me feel the disability thing, because I mean everyone knows, so it makes me feel that I can bring all parts of myself to the trail. OMR helps me feel confident and strive to do my best. I think many of us know the pain of being excluded for who we are, and being included for who we are is as powerful a salve for that wound. I'm excited to crew Kettle this weekend for folks and to see folks in person I've met only online. It's a great opportunity to give back and get inspired by some amazing athletes. Sending good vibes and big congrats to all the Kettle athletes this weekend, and much gratitude for all who make OMR what it is.
That's awesome.
I know, she put some good effort into that.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah, so it was definitely, I thought I would get, well, I do have one more. It's a little harder to read. She sent me a photograph of it. And I was like, oh, only 5 people, but the quality of the 5 people's stories was...
Yeah, I think they hit everything that OMR is about.
Right, yeah. So I have one last one, and she even gave her bib number. She's out here today running, and she's bib number 189, Nicole Bernardin, and she said, kindness, community, and getting ornery. This race is the culmination of 3 things fitting together to bring me to the starting line. I finished my first 100-miler in 2019 right here at Kettle. It was hot and humid, and my favorite part was the soaking thunderstorm in the prairie with miles of mud and chafing. It felt freeing. My legs were thrashed by the 100K point, and I couldn't run. I power hiked the last 38 miles and finished in just under 28 hours. I'm a 3-time Ironman finisher, but finishing Kettle was one of the greatest personal feelings of achievement I had experienced. A month later, my personal life was leveled with an unexpected divorce. The pain was profound. I went from extreme high of finishing Kettle 100 to plugging depths of confusion and grief. Being an endurance athlete, I kept running to avoid pain, running to feel pain, running to desperately feel any pieces of joy that I usually found in it. I was running for my life. I love that, running for my life.
Yeah.
I'm so grateful to be here at Kettle this year. If you're reading this live, it means I've made it far enough to hopefully finish. It's because of Michelle's kindness that I was able to secure a bib. She donated an entry to the local Snowdrop Foundation, and I won the bid for the bib. It's because of the trail running community and my friends that I am taken care of out on the course. And if I finish, it will be because I was ornery enough to do the damn thing. When I filled out the questionnaire Michelle sent me, I was a Tahoe 200 hopeful and asked for good vibes from the listeners to get off the waiting list. A week before Kettle, here we go, in the Taper Madness, I was invited off the wait list for the Bigfoot 200.
Wow.
Woo! Yeah, congratulations. In 2 months after Kettle, I will be attempting my first 200-mile at the Cascade Mountains in Washington.
Wow.
It's been quite the Taper Madness.
Excellent story.
And just an update on Nicole, I just checked, and she is through Scuppernong.
Nice.
Way to go.
So she's cruising along,
She's
and
still in
she's
there.
getting it done, and good for her. You know, that's awesome.
Those are great stories.
I know, weren't they great? I was like, I read each of them to my wife because I practiced not crying because it's a myth that autistic people don't feel it, because I feel it. I feel it like a ton of bricks to my chest.
Yeah.
And so I practiced reading them without crying. I think I did okay.
I think it's awesome too, because I think it was touched a lot during our podcast so far, or our broadcast, that the difficulties that everybody goes through to get to a certain distance. You know, not only emotionally and physically, but everyone's experience has been different, and the warmth or the feelings they've received from the running community has just helped them to push on into their goals.
I love this community, especially Omar. I mean, the trail and ultra running community as a whole has been so open and welcoming to me, and has made me feel a way that I've never felt my whole life. But Ornery Mule specifically it feels like home to me when I come to a packet pickup. And I would have never done a live broadcast like this just even last year, but I come on the show Ornery Mule event because I feel a part of it.
Yeah, I think Michelle has really created something very special and unique with OMR. I don't think I haven't really experienced this with any other race that I've done so far. I was kind of browsing Facebook as I traveled up to the Whitewater today, and in the Kettle Facebook page, she has her phone number listed for the races.
Yeah.
I don't know of any other race director that would just kind of put that out there and, it's basic, contact me if you need anything. Mm-hmm. She's the race director, and I can imagine all the things that she has going on to manage the race itself, let alone individual runner needs. But that's just a huge statement of the kind of person she is and what she brings to our running community.
Yeah. I call her at Earth Day. I told her that she was the hashtag Queen of Kindness.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah.
I think it's interesting, but it's almost obviously this is a running community, right? But since I've been here for 4 hours now, and probably half the time we just talk about how good of an atmosphere is, and how kind everybody is, and how welcoming the community is, and talk about trying to be good people and trying to help each other, try and help each other reach their goals and stuff like that. And it's just amazing to hear people share stories and stuff in a running community outside of running, I guess. It's pretty special. So
I mean, I love that it's more than just running. Like, there's book club, and Robert, he comes to book club, and that's how I met him. And it was nice to, like, you were one of my first running friends. You and Elizabeth were some of my first actual running friends that I would maybe message, because I wasn't really reaching out at that point, but I was like, let's try this book club thing. Mm-hmm. And so I like that there's more stuff, and I obsess over reading running books, so now I get to read them with lots of other people. And the focus always comes back to running, but like you said, it's more than running, and I love that.
I hear that book club's a pretty special place.
It's pretty great.
Yeah, I always long to join, but it's honestly just cuts into my bedtime. Well, Robert's pulling out a collection of the books from the book club, and it looks pretty amazing.
Okay. The authors come to book club, and we've got them signed, and it's just so great.
So this one right here.
Looks like you found that one pretty interesting.
I was really serious reading this one. You can see all of my little tabs in here. I was taking notes, and I was, anyway. So this one was written by Brian Frayne, and this is about the story of Annie Weiss. This book is called See You at the Terminus. Great book. This was one of the first ones we read. It's about her story of her FKT. Super awesome book.
Yeah, that's an amazing story. I think it was the first book. Yeah.
So, and Annie's a super awesome athlete, and she's a local athlete, right? So I think people sometimes, when we think about elite athletes, or we think about people accomplishing great things, we tend to look outside of our local community, and she's someone that's right here.
That's right.
Another local one here on your top.
Ran 1,200 miles.
Another local
athlete. This one is Sean Tegmeyer. This was one of our book club books called Running with Walt.
She's also part of the book club.
And she's a part of the book club.
That's awesome.
Running with Walt, How a Chain-Smoking Couch Potato Got Off the Couch.
It's a good book.
It is. It's a great book. I mean, very, very inspiring as well. Like real people doing amazing things, right?
The ordinary into extraordinary. There you go.
So here's another one. Corey Reese.
He's going to be on today, isn't he?
Yes.
He is going to be on later today. Yes. We're got
reading his
brand new book.
Other book in book club too in September.
Yep. Can't wait to dive into that. He is oh my gosh, if you have not read one of his books, he is super hilarious. Like such a great storyteller in a way that is you can't help but just keep cracking up laughing. Especially if you listen to them. Listen to all my books. Another great. So yeah, we read this one in book club as well. We've got this one we read in book club, Reborn on the Run by Katja Corbett. She was a guest on our book club. Oh, by the way, Corey was a guest on our book club. Katja was a guest on our book club. Obviously, Sean was a guest on our book club.
Lazarus Lake came to book club.
Lazarus Lake.
Wow, that's impressive.
Brian was a guest on our book club, and this one, Bigfoot 200 by Ryan Chuskeski. I'm sorry, Ryan. But another phenomenal book. He was a guest on our book club.
A couple times.
All right.
Oh, excellent.
Exciting.
I guess I'll just stay for
Do you want to
it.
get out?
I kind of did, but
okay. Oopsie.
Too late now.
Okay.
Hi, Jeff.
Hi.
Welcome to the Ornery Mule Kettle 100 live broadcast.
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks for joining us today.
Jeff,
yeah, I'm happy to be here.
It is I'm super excited to have you here. That we're super excited to have you here. I learned about you probably 6-8 months ago for the very first time, and some of what I heard about you and your story you're a phenomenal athlete, incredible ultra athlete, and so to be actually having this conversation with you is really awesome. Thank you so much for being here. Allow me to give you a proper introduction, if I may. Okay?
Sure.
So, here we go. Mr. Jeff Browning. Jeff is an endurance athlete, endurance coach, ultra athlete, designer, husband, and father of 3 kids. He lives to run in wild places as well as fighting to protect them. Now, here are some of his career highlights. Check this out. I mean, this is amazing. First, at the 2019 Blood Rock 100, course record. First at the 2019 Buffalo Run 50K. First at the 2019 Tarawera 100 in New Zealand. 2-time Bear 100 winner. That's 2017, 2019. First at the 2018 Pinhoti 100. It also says here that 4-time top 10 Western States 100 finisher. 2016, 17, 18, and 19. First at the 2018 Hard Rock 100. First at the 2018 Antelope Island 100. First at the 2017. I mean, what is going on? What is your secret, man?
That's what I want to know.
Yeah.
One foot in front of the other.
There we go. That's it.
That's all we ever got to do.
And keep doing it over and over as fast as you possibly can.
I mean, it's you're super amazing, inspiring, and you're an athlete who's been doing it for a while now. Can you tell us about when you got started? What's been the history? A little bit more about your history.
Yeah, sure. I got into the sport in 2001. So I ran my first 50K, Hag Lake 50K in February of 2001. So this is my 21st ultra racing season. I started, at first I just got into them for fun. I came from mountain biking, but I just started, kind of dabbling in them, and then got hooked with the community and and how cool it is and how laid back it is and encouraging and mentoring. And so I just kind of got hooked and wanted to run a 100-miler. I ran Western States as my first 100-miler in 2002 and ran 23:38, and not knowing anything much about hundreds, no speed work, I just ran 4 days a week and mountain biked a couple days a week. And then I decided, well, I really like the 100, kind of got hooked on the 100. So I started kind of concentrating on that, fought a bunch of injuries for about a year. And then in 2004, did Wasatch 100 as my second 100. And that kind of got me kicked off into hundreds. And then I won Bighorn in 2005 and 2006. And then I just started really focusing on a couple hundreds a year from 07 through 2013, and 2014 started doing 400s a year. And I was always inspired by Carl Meltzer and how many hundreds he could do a year. And he and I became friends, and I he mentored me a little bit when I started doing multiple ones a year, but how to recover in between them. But the main thing was, I take care of myself nutrition wise. I don't run high volume. I do a lot of vert. I run in the mountains. I've always lived somewhere where there's been good running. But I just mix up the mountain bike a little bit. I strength train. I work on mobility. I'm 49, so I turned 50 this year. I've got to do the extra stuff. And I find that it's not worth doing that extra junk mileage anyway. I do my training and then try to, I'm peaking for Western States, where last weekend was like peak week, and I ran 97 miles with about 18,000 feet of climbing. So that would be a peak week, but those are rare. Those are, 3 weeks out from a race. Mm-hmm. And so most of the time my kind of sweet spot's probably 60 to 70 miles a week, somewhere in that range. Yeah.
What's your favorite strength training exercise?
Well, thank you. I really like push-ups and pull-ups, and deadlifts, Bulgarian split squats. I don't know if I could say a favorite necessarily, because they all work synergistically.
Yeah.
I love that. So the reason I feel connected to you, Jeff, I'm 49.
All right, man.
And I don't know what it is. It's just, and so seeing you do what you do, continuing to get better, is so inspiring to me as an athlete, an ultra athlete who's really just getting started in the sport. I started in ultra 3 years ago, and what I'm seeing is I'm getting better, and seeing you and what you're doing, continuing to perform at such a high level and intelligently. That's the other thing that I really appreciate about what you do, is you're very intelligent, you're very conscientious about your training, your diet, and what you do to get better in the sport. And so I'm following your lead in so many ways.
Well, yeah, I do embrace the nutritional side of things too. So I'm definitely pretty geek out about that kind of stuff. Good nutrition helps with recovery, helps with inflammation. And especially, as you know, at our age, we have to deal with not as quite as fast as recovery as we used to have. So anything we can do to encourage that. And I think one thing that's good about being older is that you tend to be not focused about the little things, or you can, than say when you were 28 or something. I don't know. I think the older you get, the more it's easy to stay on the straight and narrow versus I don't really want to be that committed.
I'm replaying in my head all the things that Robert listed off that you've done, and then also what's replaying in my head is that I read when I first started ultra running that a man's second running peak in his life is in his 60s, and that's why you have a lot of masters that are really fast. And so I'm gonna definitely be following to see what you do in your 60s if you're about to turn 50, because that's how do you peak that? How do you peak a resume like you have? And
well, I don't know. I just get. You just keep putting one foot in front of the other, and and I think the other thing is motivated to train hard. I think some people just lose the motivation too to get out there every day and be consistent, and that's really what ultra running is about, is being consistent and putting in the work. And that's what I love about the sport, is you can't cheat it. You can't be like, oh, I jump off the couch in 2 weeks and I run. You got to think about it 6 months, 8 months ahead of time. So it pays to be consistent. So I think that's the key here too, is consistency and experience pay off too, especially in 100 milers. The 100-mile distances I love, because just because you're super fast on your resume doesn't necessarily mean you'll run a fast 100 or a successful 100. So it's a great equalizer between the age groups and the speeds, and everyone has their strengths and weaknesses, and I think that's what's cool about the 100-mile distance.
Tell us a little bit about your nutritional strategies when you're running the 100-mile distance.
Well, I kind of follow similar to what Zach Bitter and Jason Schlarb, kind of high fat, low carb, paleo type of eating pattern or lifestyle. Kind of basically, the basic of it is 90% of the time avoiding grains and sugar in everyday diet, and you're still using carbs and simple sugars on race day, and then using fruits and potatoes and sweet potatoes more strategically around effort and volume. So that way you're still topping off glycogen and you're not messing with your bone density and bone health, but you are going pretty low carb on say rest days and low volume training. And, after eating and drinking too much at Thanksgiving, the week after you're tighten it up and be strict. That's the main approach. It's pretty simple. It's really not that complicated. You're just basically avoiding flour products, grain products, and sugar, or stuff with added sugar in it.
So my secret to avoiding all that stuff is don't have it in the house.
That's really the secret.
It is.
Yeah.
And I'm not crazy strict either. I'm not like some hardcore ketogenic athlete or something, but I do use ketogenic carnivore type of eating, as a tool, I guess would be the best way to put it. Not every day, but occasionally, or a meal here, a meal there. And then just avoid added sugar and grains mostly.
Jeff, we had Dean on earlier, and he emphasized having, a good diet for him as well. For the rest of us that just eat for pleasure and chomping down cheeseburgers, how important do you think it is to have an actual good diet where you're starting to eat for more performance and, just fueling vice mouth pleasure? How important do you think that is to performing well and longevity and stuff like that?
Well, I think it's super important. And, I'd say if I looked at what's the number one change in my training in the last 6 years has been nutrition, and my performance has gone up during that window. Starting end of 2015, 2016 was the first season on a high fat, low carb diet. I should say OFM, optimized fat metabolism, is probably a better description of this diet, because you're using, what I mean by optimized fat metabolism is that you're using a high fat, low carb diet to get yourself burning oxidizing fat at a higher rate than your previous self. But then you're also bringing in carbohydrates strategically. So you're still using carbohydrates, you're just using more paleo food list, like fruits and starches like potatoes and sweet potatoes, strategically around effort and volume. And I think that strategic use is the key to it, because you're bringing in those higher carbs when glucose uptake's really good, and you'll utilize it and top off glycogen, and you're not going to store it. Or your body's not going to be like to do with all these energy sources you've given me? You know, I'm just going to fat. And that's what happens. And that's what, one thing I experienced as an endurance athlete in my mid 40s is I started gaining weight, and I was eating the same way I'd always eaten, organic whole foods diet. I soaked my legumes. I ate sprouted grains. We soaked our rice, and I, to break down phytic acid and all that kind of stuff, make it more absorbable. And I still was putting on weight. I had a little bit of a spare tire around the middle. I couldn't quite get down to my fighting weight for 100 milers anymore. I was fighting a little bit of health issues after some racing in South America. I don't know whether I got bad water or what, but something happened, and it kind of set off some health stuff in 2015 that really kind of funneled me towards a high-fat, low-carb diet and to manage it. And then I saw the performance benefit and the recovery benefit. And I think that's been probably the biggest aha moment out of all this is the recovery benefit you get from eating this kind of lifestyle. And, I just recover so much faster. My post 100-mile recovery is way different than it was. I had 2200s to compare it to and 15 years of racing as a high carb athlete. And I just saw such a big difference in the recovery process and in being able to maintain my fighting weight. So I like to call it, what the lean weight you come into A races at, and it's a lot easier. I don't stray very much from my fighting weight on this.
Jeff, how tall are you?
5'8", 139.
5'8", 139. Okay. It's funny.
I'll race Western States probably at like 136, 137.
Got it.
In 2 weeks.
Wow. So I say the exact same thing. I'm currently pursuing my fighting weight of 165. I'm about 7 pounds away, and what I'm finding is that for me, I started intermittent fasting. Have you ever done anything with intermittent fasting before? I do that.
Yeah, I've dabbled with it. I use it occasionally, especially I use it more in the off season than I do during season. I don't really skip meals much during the season, or when I'm training big. I feel like you need fuel when you're training, and it's really easy to stay lean when I'm eating kind of a carnivore keto strategic carb approach. So I just err on the side of more protein than the quote unquote ketogenic kind of protocol of moderate protein. I try to get my body weight in grams a day of intake. So about 139 grams of carbohydrates, of protein a day.
What's a typical meal look like for you?
It depends on the day, but like a typical breakfast would be 4 eggs cooked in butter. And then coffee with a little heavy whipping cream and not much snacking. Mm-hmm. I run at lunch most of the time, and so I'll go into the lunch. So I'm going to my lunch carb fasted, but not calorie fasted. So I have had carbs the night before bed, but I haven't had any, probably for 16 hours, 18 hours when I go out for a training run. Unless I'm doing speed work or something, I might have a handful of berries or something like that, an hour before the workout, or a banana or something. But, I'll get back from the workout and eat like a salad with meat of some sort, a decent amount of protein, probably at least 35, 40 grams of protein in that meal. So I'm really concentrating on the protein source, and then it's usually fairly low carb, usually salad with a bunch of other vegetables cut up on it, and some kind of probably Primal Kitchen dressing, the avocado oil based, like a fattier dressing. And then, but usually right after the workout, I usually have a piece of fruit while I'm making food. So I'm also having some carbohydrate to top off glycogen for the next work, to get ready for tomorrow's workout. And then in the evening, I'm usually eating that's probably my biggest carb meal. So usually vegetables and meat and maybe some kind of a carb side. If we have more of a low carb dinner, I'll probably have a fruit snack afterwards. But if we end up, sometimes my wife will make sweet potato or, potato, like that, and I'll have that as well. on the day. And, you know, I always have a little bit of fruit before bed sometimes, at least when on training days. You know, usually I'll go a little more low carb on a rest day, you know, or something like that.
Did you work with a dietitian or a nutritionist when you were developing your eating protocol, or was it something you just experimented on your own and developed your own style?
I talked to Zach Bitter, was the first person I called when I decided to do the switch, because I was about 7 weeks from Hurt 100 in 2016. So I made the switch in like December 1st of 2015. And he gave me some tips, you know, over the phone. We were friends and teammates, and both sponsored by Ultra. And so we really talked, and he, you know, a few phone calls, and he also connected me at the time with Peter Defty at Vespa, who Peter's been a mentor as well as far as nutrition. But I did a ton of reading. I really, for about 3 or 4 months, I just went head down. I'm a pretty voracious reader, and I just spent a ton of time low carb living, the Science of Low Carb Performance by Volek and Finney, you know, probably the most published 2 guys on high fat, low carb diets over the last 30 years. I read both their books, and they're super I mean, the Art and Science of Low Carb Living is like written towards healthcare professionals. And so it's really gets into science and the end of the deep dive into the weeds. And it's very chewy read, but I mean, I like that stuff. And as a coach, you know, that was right down my alley. So I really got into it and read all that. I read Primal Blueprint by Mark Sisson. What else? Some other reading that was really kind of an influence on me in the early days was Nina Tolschlitz's book, The Big Fat Surprise. Basically how cholesterol and saturated fat got demonized, and the political science behind it.
That's very interesting.
How it was split and has really messed with in the 50s and 60s, and you know how we've got tons and tons of studies that are still getting quoted as being healthy that back up the diet heart hypothesis, and really it's a house of cards.
Jeff, correct me if I'm wrong.
Liquid calories with some electrolytes in it, some light calories, electrolytes, and then the rest you should get from gels, chews, chips, you know, fruit at the tables, whatever works for you. Hopefully you've experienced and it works before race day, and kind of know what works for you and what doesn't.
Yeah, I think that was a good topic to bring up there, Robert, because I think it does take a lot of practice to make sure you're getting in that fluid, because it is a lot when you think about a liter in an hour. And the advice you gave about taking sips throughout that hour, I think is awesome, because I feel like if you were to try to down, you know, 8 ounces, 16 ounces at one time, you get that jostling in your belly. But if you just continually take sips, it just seems to like absorb itself, and you don't feel that extra water in your gut.
Yeah, I think that the other thing to kind of keep in mind is if you are going to chug a bunch of water at an aid station, which tends to be, it's a tendency during a hot race like that, where you come into an aid station, you're like so thirsty and you just have this chug water. Just remember you need to mineralize the water. So that's why I carry some electrolyte tablets with me always, and like a Succeed tablet or something where it's 340 milligrams of sodium and a little potassium, and I can just pop that pill and chug it, you know, half a liter of water at an aid station when you're super thirsty, and then you know that salt will mineralize that water in your gut, and then it absorbs into the bloodstream faster, and you don't get sloshy gut. I think that's an important piece to understand, that you need to mineralize water. Always remember that the two go together, they're synergistic, and you always have to be mineralizing your water. The other thing I always keep in mind too is when I'm in the sipping concept, is looking at your watch and making sure you don't on the hour you don't go more than 5 minutes without taking sips. So I always sip both: sip calories, sip water, rinse all the sugary taste out of my mouth. within 5 more minutes, sip calories, sip water, repeat, rinse and repeat.
I do that by at the end of a song. If a new song comes on, I sip.
Yeah, nice way to keep it a reminder in your head to know that, especially when you get in those longer distances and you're kind of fading mentally. That kind of is a nice like Pavlov response that at the end of the song, take a sip.
Yeah. Unless it's like a Rush song that's like 23 minutes or something.
True.
So don't put that on your iPod.
Yeah, not on that.
Jeff, I have a question. So we always talk about nutrition and training and stuff like that, but I would imagine that you are also a very mentally tough person. How much of your success do you think is based off you just being a tough person?
Being stubborn?
Yeah, stubborn.
Yeah, probably
like the
that's
mule.
part of it. Ask my wife. I'm definitely stubborn. I think you do have to be stubborn in a race like that. You have to be, intelligent, an intelligent approach from everything, from pace to be patient and also at least in 100 avoid that.
Yeah, that's great advice. I think that's something too that's super important to share with your crew as well, right? What motivates you, what demotivates you. I don't want to say it's the worst, but it's not very helpful when you're late in a race and then your crew's telling you stuff that you don't really care about. You're like, I don't care to hear this. This is not getting me going.
I like that I think everyone should run 100 without a pacer just to compare it to having a pacer. And it makes you buck up mentally more. So I do think that like you need to be responsible for your own butt. And that's a really important aspect of 100 milers.
So speaking of bucking up, where'd you get your nickname? Bronco Billy.
I have a really good friend from Bend, Oregon. I lived there for 17 years. I now live in Flagstaff. But a friend of mine, Jason Moyer, he's a really awesome badass local from Bend, Oregon. And he was like the fastest ultra runner in Bend when I got into the sport in 2001 and at races. And then other people started calling me Bronco, and some people didn't even know my name was Jeff Browning. They just thought my name was Billy. And I also always like jokingly said it was in 100 milers, I always said it was an alter ego that I wouldn't let out of the stable until the second half of the race. And I use that as a mental kind of, that's another example of the mental side of ultra running. And, if you have this ultra ego that wants to come out in the second half, but you don't let them come out, you got to hold them back. They're a warrior. You let them hold them back.
Oh, we're frozen.
Can you hear us, Jeff? Looks like you're frozen on your end. I'm not sure how you're seeing us.
Yeah, I can see.
Okay.
We're frozen again.
Yeah, he's frozen. He said maybe ask him a question.
So, in regards to, I really appreciate what you said about the alter ego. Oftentimes when I'm running the longer races, I have that same kind of mindset. Like I will bring out an alter ego of my own, someone who's unstoppable. And the other thing I noticed when you're running, where you're so in the zone that you feel, well, you don't even think about being unstoppable. You just feel like you're so in the zone. You're doing what you got to do when you got to do it, and you just keep going.
Great demonstration.
Can you guys hear my at least audio?
Yeah, we can
hear you
now.
We hear you now. Yes.
Yeah. So I do think there is.
Like, if you're starting to run longer races, inevitably at some point it's not going to become fun.
Right.
You are going to hit a low point. You are going to struggle, and I think you almost have to kind of go into the race knowing